Chapter 2261. Mr. Wang, Miss Xiao, forgive me for being blunt, but did you guys offend anyone when you were doing business? Lingshan had no choice but to ask about these things in detail, since the kidnappers had called Xiao Qinlin earlier, saying that their daughter had been kidnapped, and hanging up the phone. There was no reason, no motive, and no mention of the ransom. Wang Xubin and Xiao Qinlin were confused. They tried to contact their daughter, but couldn't get through to her. So they hurriedly came to report the case. Who did you offend? Qinlin turned to Wang Xubin after some thought. Wang Xubin had always been the one in charge of the business, and Qinlin had always been in charge of the logistics. As a result, the chances of her offending anyone was very low, and the main thing was whether Wang Xubin had offended anyone. I've always been honest with my business. I've never done anything like that, and I work well with my business partners as well. We've been friends for many years, so I don't think we have any enemies. Wang Xubin shook his head after some thought. Then what about the Xiao family? Lingshan didn't get any useful clues, so she had no choice but to get straight to the point. The Xiao family? Officer Song, you know about the Xiao family? Qinlin paused. She'd never interacted with Lingshan before, so naturally she didn't know about her other identity. I'm from House Song, one of the noble houses in the past. Lingshan didn't hide anything. If this wasn't caused by you and your wife, then could it be caused by the Xiao family? I see. The Xiao family's people are very arrogant, and we don't really have much contact with them. Only this year, when my brother wanted my daughter to marry Xiaolong from House Kong, did we have some contact? Qinlin said after some thought. If we're talking about enemies, then the Xiao family seems to have offended someone called Linny. Linny? Lingshan shook her head with a bitter smile. He can't be the kidnapper. Ah, why? Qinlin paused, not expecting Lingshan to deny the answer right away. She didn't like it. It took her so long to think of an enemy, but Lingshan said it wasn't. What was the point of thinking? Even if Linny had a grudge against the Xiao family, he'd go after the Xiao family. He wouldn't kidnap your daughter, Lingshan explained. The Xiao family is nothing to Linny. Lingshan wanted to continue explaining, but Wang Xubin's phone rang. Lingshan stopped talking and looked at Wang Xubin. This might be a call from the kidnappers. Lingshan signaled Lu Wangli, who had been transferred to Donghai with her, to investigate the situation. She turned to Wang Xubin. Pick it up first. If it's the kidnappers, try to buy as much time as possible. Wang Xubin nodded and picked up the phone. He saw a strange phone number, but he didn't think much about it. It was normal for kidnappers to change their phone numbers. He picked up the phone directly. Hello, I'm Wang Xubin. Hello, I'm Wang Xubin. Hello, I'm Wang Xinyan's classmate from university. There's something bad I want to tell you. Meng Yao's voice came from the other side of the phone. She didn't beat around the bush. Wang Xinyan was kidnapped at the school gate. What? You're Yinyan's classmate? Yinyan was kidnapped at the school gate? Wang Xubin was startled. He didn't expect it to be Xinyan's classmate. He only received a short call from the kidnappers, but they didn't say where Xinyan was kidnapped. He didn't ask either. Now that he heard that Xinyan's classmate might be a witness, he immediately said, I already know about this. Can you come to the police station? I'm at the police station right now. Can you tell the officers the details of Yinyan's kidnapping? Oh, okay. Meng Yao frowned when she heard that Wang Xubin already knew about Xinyan's kidnapping. It seemed like the kidnappers had contacted Wang Xubin already. This meant that the kidnappers weren't after Lin Yi. But in this case, the matter became even more confusing. If they weren't after Lin Yi, then it should be someone Xinyan or her family had offended. It should be a normal kidnapper, but that wasn't the case. Even Shantian couldn't take a single hit from them. And the purple thunderbolt beast couldn't do anything to them either. A kidnapper of this level didn't seem to be a normal person, did he? If they weren't after Lin Yi, then things were even more troublesome. They didn't even have an imaginary enemy. Wu Chintian, are you alright? Let Shu stay and take care of you? Meng Yao turned to Chintian as she was heading to the police station. I'm fine. I won't die. Chintian grinned. When boss comes back, he'll recover instantly. Plus, I still have grandma's son to feed and drink. You guys go, don't worry about me. Meng Yao nodded and quickly left the villa with Yushu. They drove to the police station in Donghai. Lingshan was surprised to see Meng Yao and Yushu in her office. So they were the witnesses Wang Xubin was talking about? Song Fox. Sis, what are you doing here? Yushu was about to call Lingshan Fox Song. But she remembered that Lingshan had risked her life to help her and Meng Yao escape with Lin Yi. She couldn't bring herself to mock her like she used to. Plus, her brother had moved on, and Lingshan had fallen in love with Shield Bro. She couldn't say anything more about Lingshan. I just got transferred here. This is the capital, so it counts as a promotion. Lingshan said. Where's Lin Yi? Lin Yi and Sun Jingyi went out. There's something they need to take care of. Meng Yao said. If Lin Yi was home, the kidnappers wouldn't have gotten away so easily. Chen Tian was in a bad state. But Meng Yao believed that if Lin Yi was home, Lin Yi would be able to do something about it. It was a blind trust. Meng Yao didn't know why or when it started, but she had this kind of stubborn faith in Lin Yi. Maybe it was because of Shu. Wang Xubin and Qinlin were a bit weirded. How did these two girls know Lin Yi? And Xingyan seemed to know Lin Yi as well? They had suspected that Lin Yi had kidnapped his daughter. But now it seemed that Lin Yi wasn't home at all. Chapter 2262. It's like this. I invited Xingyan to my house today, and we were supposed to meet at the parking lot after school. But when she got there, a black van without a license plate rushed over and tied her up in the car. Meng Yao said as she turned to look at Wang Xubin and Qinlin, not sure if she should tell them the rest of the story. You can't tell me what happened after that? Lingshan could tell what Meng Yao was worried about. What, is there something else? It's nothing much. It's just that Wu Chintian chased after her. But he wasn't a match for the kidnappers. And he didn't even last a single move. Meng Yao said with a bitter smile. She didn't tell them about the purple thunderbolt beast. Because it wasn't a good idea to tell them about it. And secondly, she didn't want to tell them that the beast had already found the kidnappers' hideout. If Lingshan attacked recklessly, she'd be in danger. The kidnappers' strength was beyond their estimations. They were definitely practitioners. What? Lingshan looked at Meng Yao in shock. She knew how strong Wu Chintian was. He was a mystic late-phase peak just like her. And he was a practitioner of both body and spirit. If Wu Chintian couldn't even last a single move, then the kidnappers had to be at least in Earth class. Plus, Wu Chintian's already in Earth class early phase now. Meng Yao added. What Earth class early phase? Lingshan took in a cold breath, realizing that she'd underestimated the kidnappers' strength. She didn't think that they'd be able to take down an Earth class early phase in one move. It seemed like this kidnapping wasn't as simple as she'd thought. Yeah, at first, we thought that the kidnappers were after Lin Yi. That's why they kidnapped Xinyan. But now it seems like the kidnappers contacted Xinyan's parents first. So they probably don't have much to do with Lin Yi anymore. Meng Yao said. After Lin Yi? Lingshan blinked. Wang Xinyan. She's Lin Yi's girlfriend in school. Meng Yao said. It'd be troublesome if she explained things like that. So she just said it like that. Compared to Lingshan, Meng Yao was more inclined towards Lin Yi choosing Xinyan. After all, she and Shu weren't too compatible with Lingshan. Lingshan had protected them with all her might. But that was only because of Lin Yi. Qinlin and Wang Xubin froze at Meng Yao's words. My daughter found a boyfriend at school? She wasn't with House Kang's Kong Xiaolong. The two of them felt like they were in a mess. Before, they had guessed that Lin Yi had kidnapped their daughter. But now, their daughter and Lin Yi were actually in a relationship. Could it be that the Kong family was dissatisfied and hired someone to do it? Then could it be someone from the Kong family? Wang Xubin saw through his wife's thoughts, so he asked. House Kong can't have a master like that. Lingshan shook her head. Plus, it doesn't seem like it. If it was House Kong, then they'd still be targeting Lin Yi. They wouldn't call you guys, so I feel like this kidnapping is more like a normal kidnapping. It's just that the kidnappers are a little special. Let's wait for the kidnappers to call, and see what they want. That's the only way. Wang Xubin nodded. He was curious why his daughter was in a relationship at school. But he wasn't in the mood to ask about it right now. His daughter's safety was more important. And he could ask her about it after she was out of danger. Meng Yao looked at Lingshan, wanting to say something. She wanted to talk about the hidden house pie, but Lingshan didn't care about it. She was just worried that Wang Xubin and Qin Lin would spread the news. House Pie and Lin Yi were friends now, and if the other hidden houses found out, it'd be bad for House Pie. At the very least, they'd have to wait for Lin Yi to come back first. Then we'll go back first. We don't know much, that's all. Meng Yao said. Alright, contact me if anything happens. Lingshan's observation skills were sharp, and she could tell that Meng Yao wanted to say something. Naturally, Lingshan could tell that Meng Yao wanted to say something, but maybe it was because Wang Xubin and Xiao Qinlin were here. So she decided to give Meng Yao a call later. Not long after Meng Yao and Yushu left, Wang Xubin received the second call from the kidnappers. Is this Wang Xubin? On the other side of the phone, a strange voice came through the voice changer. Yes, it's you. How's my daughter? Wang Xubin could tell that it was the kidnapper from before. Don't worry, Mr. Wang. Your daughter is fine, but that's just for now, Scorpion said. If Mr. Wang doesn't want anything to happen to your daughter, then you better do as I say. What do you want? Wang Xubin asked. Prepare 10 million and wait for my call. With that, the kidnapper hung up, not giving Wang Xubin any time to reply. Wait. Wang Xubin looked at the phone helplessly, shaking his head. This kidnapper didn't play by the rules at all. He wanted to do what Lingshan told him to, but the kidnapper just hung up on him. Wang Xubin smiled bitterly as he looked at Lingshan. Lingshan, on the other hand, was waiting for Lu Wangli's reply. How is it? Lingshan looked at Lu Wangli, who was walking over. Captain Song, the technicians have already traced the call, but the call was transferred multiple times from overseas. We won't be able to trace it in a short amount of time, Lu Wangli said. Lingshan nodded. It seemed like the kidnapper was a veteran, and he was very familiar with these things. She had guessed that this was the case, but she didn't have much hope. Since the kidnappers were much stronger than an Earth-class early phase, it wouldn't be easy to find out the identity of the kidnapper through the phone. Did you find out where the car went? Lingshan asked. Nope, it's a new MPV, and it was smuggled over. We don't have this model in the country, so we couldn't find any information. The kidnappers took the back alleys, and there were no surveillance cameras. Lu Wangli said. Lingshan had pretty much expected this outcome. She turned to Wang Xubin. What did the kidnappers say? Chapter 2263. Although 10 million yuan was not a small amount for Wang Su, especially for a businessman like him, his liquidity was limited. After all, most of his money was spent on goods. It was a bit difficult to take out 10 million yuan at once. However, for the safety of his daughter, he would still try his best. Wait here, I'll go make a call. Lingshan felt that she needed to talk to Meng Yao privately. She didn't know when Xingyan became Lin Yi's girlfriend. But since she was Lin Yi's girlfriend, Lin Yi couldn't just ignore it. There had to be a way. Wang Xubin nodded helplessly. He'd wanted to ask for help from the Xiao family in House Kong. After all, Xingyan was from the Xiao family, the daughter-in-law of House Kong. But after hearing that his daughter had a boyfriend at school, Wang Xubin gave up on that idea. Although, he didn't think that his daughter was that reckless. She was already engaged to House Kong. And yet she was still looking for a boyfriend at school? But the problem now was that it was better to believe it was true than not. If House Kong came and heard that his daughter had made Xiaolong a cuckold, they wouldn't let it go easily. It was better to wait for his daughter to come back and ask her about it. Lingshan, on the other hand, dialed Meng Yao's number as soon as she got into the office. Meng Yao wasn't surprised that Lingshan was calling so soon. Lingshan sis. Yao Yao, is there something else? Lingshan asked. Wu Chintian has contacted the hidden house Pai, and I heard that old Pai is coming here himself. He's going to take care of this personally. Meng Yao didn't hide anything from Lingshan. 1. Lingshan was from a noble house, and 2. They were familiar with each other. The hidden house Pai is going to interfere? Lingshan didn't understand what Meng Yao was saying. Xingyan was kidnapped. Why would the hidden house Pai be here? Weren't they Xiao family's support? And did they have a grudge against Lin Yi? Pai Jishan from House Pai has already called Lin Yi his boss. Meng Yao didn't know much about the specifics either. Anyway, he's a sky class early phase. It shouldn't be a problem if he's there. That's good. Lingshan had been thinking about asking the Supernatural Investigation Department to get involved after hearing that the guy was a practitioner, but it seemed like there was no need for that now. If even Old Pai couldn't handle this, then no one else would be able to. Lingshan hung up and walked out to speak to Wang Xubin and his wife. I've made the arrangements. If the kidnappers call again, just do what they want and do it half-heartedly. Don't be in a rush to pay the money though. It shouldn't be much of a problem if you drag it out for today. Lingshan didn't mention anything about hiding House Pai, and since Meng Yao didn't mention it, it meant that she didn't want Wang Xubin and his wife to know. Ah, that's great, thank you so much, Wang Xubin said, relieved that Lingshan had arranged everything. Lingshan wanted to say that he didn't need to thank her, but decided against it after some thought. Scorpion thought that the job was done, and so he returned to the headquarters. He told 02 to continue watching Xinyan, and there was no need to worry about anything happening with him here. Jiang Wen went straight to the HQ. How was it? Nothing happened, right? Nothing after that. Everything went smoothly, Scorpion said. That's good. Jiang Wen nodded. Don't mess with people like Xinyan in the future. Nothing good will come out of anything related to Lin Yi. Yeah, it was really dangerous this time. Scorpion was scared out of his wits as well. Being chased by a random monster made his legs cramp, and he almost got into an accident. And right as my brain, you shouldn't show your face all the time. It's easy to attract trouble. Do you have anyone else you can trust? Recommend me someone to help you out, Jiang Wen said. You won't be able to handle it yourself when we start robbing noble houses. I have a cousin in my hometown. His nickname is Little Pure. He's pretty smart. Maybe we can get him to try? Scorpion said after some thought. All right, let him come. But don't bring him to me yet. Arrange some things for him to do, and we'll talk about it when he's good. Jiang Wen was still wary of strangers. He knew the guy's background, but he wouldn't give him any important tasks. All right, I'll get him to handle some unimportant things for now, Scorpion nodded. The night passed uneventfully, and the sun rose in the midst of the tranquility. Lingshan, Wang Xubin, and Qinlin didn't sleep the entire night, waiting for the kidnapper's call. But other than the previous call, there weren't any other calls. Scorpion was different from the other kidnappers. He was fearless, and he knew that it would take some time to prepare the ransom for Wang Xubin. It was useless for him to rush Wang Xubin. On the contrary, it would give Wang Xubin even more pressure if he didn't rush him. So after saying goodbye to Jiang Wen's place, he went back to sleep, not worrying about Xinyan at all. With test subject number 2 guarding her, Xinyan wouldn't be able to escape. Even if someone tried to cause trouble, they'd have to be careful if they could leave alive. The next morning, Elder Pai and Elder Wu arrived at the villa almost at the same time. Elder Wu Gonggao was the first to arrive. He had received good news from Qintian, saying that Lin Yi valued him greatly, leveling him up to Earth Class early phase, giving him physical practitioner's body refining elixir, as well as forming a connection with the hidden House Pai. This made Gonggao very happy and surprised. Ever since Qintian became friends with Lin Yi, House Wu's power had risen, and Qintian's strength had risen from a mere Golden Class early phase to Earth Class early phase. He was several levels higher than the head of House Wu, and he was a practitioner of both inner and outer body. Who knew how many times stronger he was now? This time, not only did Qintian bring good news of his breakthrough, but he also received the body refining fluid from Lin Yi. Most importantly, he received one for himself. Gonggao felt that the smartest person in the family was still his grandson. Back then, Gonggao was very unhappy that he had made Lin Yi his boss. He felt that it was a disgrace to the family, but now it seemed that Qintian was very smart. In the noble house level, Lin Yi was the strongest, and in the hidden house level, there were 2 hidden houses that recognized Lin Yi as their boss. Chapter 2264. There would be a day when House Wu would rise above the 2 hidden houses. Elder Wu felt that the revival of the house depended on Qintian. As for Qintian, Gonggao didn't suppress him as much as before. This grandson wasn't his biological grandson, but he was his nephew. This was also the reason why he didn't want to train him. Chindi's father wasn't Gonggao's biological son, but the adopted son of Gonggao's younger brother. Gonggao's younger brother died young, and not many people knew about this, including Chindi and Chindi's father. Now Gonggao understood that House Wu was too small of a stage. To Qintian, it was just a home, a place to come back often. Qintian's goal was to follow Lin Yi and walk to the peak of martial arts perhaps one day, reaching Sky Class, or even the legendary realm after Sky Class, wouldn't be a dream anymore. But this dream was shattered when he saw his grandson's condition. Gonggao was shocked to see Qintian lying on the bed with wounds all over his body. His grandson was already in Earth Class early phase, a practitioner of both internal and external strength. In theory, spiritual and physical practitioners of the same level wouldn't be able to hurt him. But he was injured now. What did this mean? The enemy was so strong that Gonggao could only look up to them. Qintian, what's going on? How did it end up like this? Wu Gonggao asked anxiously. The joy he had felt when he first arrived vanished in an instant. Grandpa, I'm fine. Qintian smiled bitterly. He didn't think that his grandpa would come at this time of all times. It really wasn't the right timing. He wanted to share his joy with his grandpa, but it turned into pain. The enemy isn't here for me and boss. It's a bit complicated, but now that boss is back, I'm fine. My injuries are nothing. Oh, Gonggao paused, but he remembered that Qintian's injuries were just as bad. Didn't he show up at the noble house meeting full of vigor? It seemed that Lin Yi definitely had a way. Thinking of this, Wu Gonggao's expression softened a lot. Since this enemy isn't coming for you, what's going on? Qintian was about to explain when Grandma's son knocked on the door. Mr. Wu, there's an old man and a young man outside the villa, claiming to be from the hidden house Pai. They're looking for you, what do you think? Ah, quick, invite them to my room. Qintian said quickly. Meng Yao and Yushu had already gone to school. Xingyan was kidnapped, but life had to go on. Wu Qintian was waiting for the hidden house Pai to come, so there was no point in staying. As for Lin Yi, he still couldn't get in touch with him. The phone was still filled with the cold notification that the call could not be connected at the moment. Although the villa is different, I still remember what happened the last time I came to Boss Lin Yi's villa. Zhishan sighed. In the blink of an eye, I became Boss Lin Yi's follower. Actually, we, the hidden house Pai, should have made the decision back then. Zhishan remembered that Lin Yi's follower called Er Gooden, killing Jin Wudi with one punch. He couldn't help but feel emotional. Qintian had made the decision to call Er Gooden his boss, indirectly becoming Lin Yi's follower. House Pai, on the other hand, were a few months late. Perhaps it's not too late now. Elder Pai nodded with a serious expression. House Pai had always been a cautious person, and this time, Elder Pai personally brought Zhishan out of Malaysia to help Lin Yi. This was the first time in House Pai's history that something like this had happened. Although the Hidden Families Arbitration Association only existed in name, and most of the hidden families were getting restless and sending experts to stir up trouble in the secular world, heaven-rank powerhouses didn't dare to casually set foot in the secular world. After all, there was the restriction of the ancient plane. But this time, House Pai did not come to make trouble and stir up trouble. They came to save people. Even if the Holy Fist Palace knew about it, they would not blame them. What's more, this time House Pai came out. It was equivalent to betting on Lin Yi. In the future, they would share the glory and the loss together. If the ancient sects wanted trouble, it would be Lin Yi. With Lin Yi, House Pai was just a small character. So what if it was the ancient level? The everyday and everyday sect, and the ancient house phone crippled two of their disciples. What about now? Didn't they still have to suffer in silence? You too, Mr. Wu invites you. Grandma's son walked out of the villa and said to Zhishan and Elder Pai, who were deep in thought. Thank you. Elder Pai and Zhihai were led into Qintian's room by Grandma Sunday. Grandma's son was just a housekeeper, but Elder Pai was very polite, not lacking in manners at all. Brother Wu. Zhishan had expected this, but he was still shocked when he saw Qintian's condition. Qintian was in Earth Class early phase, about the same strength as Zhishan, but he was beaten up like this. This meant that the enemy was very strong. I'm sorry, this is the first time we've met. Qintian smiled bitterly. Shintian smiled bitterly. But you don't have to worry about me. When boss comes back, I'll be back to normal. Let me introduce you, this is my grandpa. Since Jishan was here, Shintian treated him as one of his own. He didn't hide anything from him. In fact, Shintian was afraid that Elder Pai would hesitate and not use his full strength. Shintian's words were actually hinting to Elder Pai that even if he was injured, it didn't matter. As long as he didn't die, Lin Yi could heal him. Oh! A strange light flashed in Elder Pai's eyes as he thought of something. He felt more confident in his choice this time. Elder Pai was a hidden person, but he knew quite a bit about Lin Yi, especially since he used to be Lin Yi's enemy. He had noticed a strange phenomenon before. Lin Yi was clearly crippled, and it was obvious that he couldn't live anymore. But every time, he would miraculously recover, and his strength would increase instead of decreasing. Chapter 2265. Otherwise, which practitioner would be able to smile with injuries like this? This meant that Lin Yi's medical skills were very good, and he had the ability to heal practitioners. Before, Elder Pai might have doubted it, but now that he saw Shintian, he believed it. Elder Wu, I've heard a lot about you. Elder Pai smiled at Gonggao, cupping his fist in greeting. Grandpa Wu, Jishan said respectfully. You're too kind, Elder Pai, little Pai. Gonggao was flattered, but remembering that they were all ranked according to the seniority of Lin Yi's follower, he didn't dare be too humble. He didn't want to embarrass Lin Yi. Elder Pai, we don't have much time. I'll treat you guys as my own. Shintian didn't want to waste time, and he didn't want to play dumb. Boss's powers are beyond your imaginations. Take me for example. I used to be a pure golden class early phase physical practitioner, but now, I'm an Earth class early phase physical practitioner. We're all physical practitioners, and I'm sure you don't need me to tell you the benefits, do you, Elder Pai? Of course. Who doesn't want to be a physical practitioner? Elder Pai nodded in agreement. He'd always wanted to be a spiritual practitioner, but no matter how hard he tried, he couldn't even step into golden class. He had no choice but to give up. He understood that Shintian wouldn't say things without thinking. There must be a deeper meaning behind his words. If we succeed this time, and Wang Xingyan's sis-in-law is saved, I think boss won't let you guys work for nothing. You two will at least become mystic late-phase peak spiritual practitioners. Shintian threw out a tempting offer. Although Lin Yi said that House Pai needed his help, this was a dangerous mission, and without money, it was hard to say if Elder Pai would give his all. What if he backed out at the critical moment? And so, Shintian said all the benefits. Wu Gonggao sat quietly at the side and listened to his grandson's words. He couldn't help but sigh. His grandson had really changed. Not only had his strength increased, but he had also become more tactful. As a physical cultivator, Wu Gonggao knew very well that no one could reject this bargaining chip. As expected, Old Pai and Pai Jishan looked at each other after Shintian's words, and their faces changed drastically. They became heated and frenzied. They came here to help Lin Yi in his hour of need, but they didn't expect Shintian to give them such a big piece of cake. This was indeed a huge temptation to them. They finally understood why Shintian had leveled up so quickly, and they understood why that trash Han Xiaopa had become an Earth-class early phase just before the Hidden House Summit. So this was all thanks to Lin Yi. If that was the case, then the returns would far exceed their expectations. They were planning to just heal Jihai's injuries, but now, no wonder Shintian was so loyal. No wonder the Hidden House Han was so fawning over Lin Yi. This time, the Hidden House Pai wouldn't let go of this chance. At first, Pai Jishan recognized Lin Yi as his boss. It was for his own benefit, but now he was sincere. Don't worry, Wu bro. Grandpa and I will do our best to save boss woman, Pai Jishan said with a fist salute. All right, I'll leave it to you then. Shintian said. Let the purple thunderbolt beast take you there. It knows where Xingyan is locked up, but the guards there are very strong, so it's up to you, Elder Pai. All right. Elder Pai agreed straightforwardly. They weren't surprised that the purple thunderbolt beast was with Lin Yi, since it was with Lin Yi back then. Right, that opponent, he's strong, but I feel like he's not smart enough, and his reflexes are really bad. If you fight him, Old Pai, It's best not to fight him head-on, avoiding his attacks and attacking him. I think it'll work. Chun Tian recalled the fight yesterday and came up with this conclusion, telling it to Old Pai in case he made a mistake. But this kidnapper gave him a familiar feeling, as if he'd seen him somewhere before, but he couldn't remember. Oh, I'll be careful. Old Pai nodded and said. But when Pai Jishan and Elder Pai saw the purple thunderbolt beast, they froze. Wasn't this guy a yellow-class spirit beast? When did it become a mystic? And a mystic late-phase peak at that? Could it be that Lin Yi could not only level up people, but also spirit beasts? What kind of scary concept was that? Old Pai and Pai Jishan looked at each other again. They could see the shock in each other's eyes. Hidden House Han. It wasn't luck that they were able to stand out in the Hidden House Summit. Elder Pai shook his head, a bitter smile on his face. This time, we've all been dragged into this together. This Lin Yi is probably toying with us. Yeah, it's all thanks to Jihai, or else we wouldn't have been able to find such a strong boss, Jishan nodded. But it's not too late now. Our Hidden House Pai still has a chance. The purple thunderbolt beast didn't have any complaints about carrying Jishan and Elder Pai on its back. It was a strong ancient spirit beast, but this was a critical time. It had to save its contracted master's woman, the mistress. How could it not be proactive? Oh, a roar. The purple thunderbolt beast came to the abandoned farm and roared softly, indicating that it had arrived. Elder Pai and Pai Jishan got off the purple thunderbolt beast. This was the first time they felt the speed of the wind. From the villa to this place, it only took a blink of an eye. Jishan, follow behind me later on the purple thunderbolt beast. I'll deal with that master, and you and the purple thunderbolt beast will go save Miss Wang. If that master attacks you, get on the purple thunderbolt beast and run. Don't fight him head-on. Elder Pai sighed and came up with a plan. Okay, I understand. Jishan didn't try to show off. Chun Tian was already heavily injured. How could he fight the enemy head-on? Chapter 2266. But what surprised them was that there was no one guarding the entrance, and there didn't seem to be any sounds coming from inside. It was eerily quiet. Don't tell me they moved to another location? Pai Jishan looked at the empty and quiet farm and asked curiously. Let's keep looking. Elder Pai said without batting an eyelid. The two walked deeper into the farm, but as soon as they turned the corner they stopped. Because they saw a person, a burly man in black sitting at the door of a bungalow. He was just sitting there with a golden saber. This person, upon seeing Jishan and Elder Pai, suddenly had a flash of light in his lifeless eyes. He stood up, and without a word, he threw a punch at Jishan. Jishan received his grandpa's orders, and didn't try to be brave. He patted the purple lightning beast, dodging the man's attack. From what Pai Jishan could tell, the person in the house behind the black-clothed man should be Wang Xinyan. He'd leave the black-clothed man to his grandpa, and Pai Jishan and the purple thunderbolt beast quickly made their way to the door. The man saw Jishan disappear, but he didn't chase after him. Instead, he turned his fist and threw a punch at Elder Pai. Elder Pai was already wary of the black-clothed man, and this guy changed his moves at the last minute. It was impossible for him to hit Elder Pai. Elder Pai easily circled to the black-clothed man's side, and with a punch, the black-clothed man staggered and spat out a mouthful of blood. Test Subject 02 could, in theory, take 10 hits from a Sky-class early phase master. But they were both Sky-class early phase masters, and their strengths weren't the same. Elder Pai was an expert in fists, and his punches were powerful, but his other skills weren't as good. But this man took a punch from Elder Pai head-on, and it was much stronger than a normal Sky-class early phase master's punch. He didn't have any chi to protect his body, and so he spat out a mouthful of blood, suffering serious internal injuries. Of course, the black-clothed man was just a puppet. He didn't have his own thoughts and didn't know pain. Although Old Man Pai's punch caused great damage to him, he didn't seem to feel it at all. After being hit, he continued to punch Old Man Pai. Bam! Old Pai couldn't dodge in time, and got punched by the man in black. Uffed! Elder Pai's blood was boiling, and he spat out a mouthful of blood. His internal organs were also injured. It wasn't that Elder Pai was careless. It was just that he didn't expect his opponent to be so unpredictable. Usually, In a duel between masters, when one side was hit, he or she would have to dodge first to recuperate. Otherwise, the injury would be more severe, unless it was a fight to the death. But at the heaven rank, unless it was a life and death enmity, who would truly go all out? That was why Old Pie didn't expect the man in black to be able to retaliate after taking a punch from him. However, Old Pie was also beaten up. He punched again, directly hitting the man in black's head. This time, the man in black's injury was more severe. He staggered and fell, but it gave Old Pie enough time to retreat. Old Pie also saw through the man in black's style. He was good at punching and kicking, but he was all brawn and no brains. He was a complete mess. Moreover, this person gave Old Pie a very strange feeling. There was an indescribable sense of déjà vu. The black-clothed man fell down, and Elder Pie naturally wouldn't let him go. He punched him again, breaking both of his arms. Then, he wanted to break both of his legs before he could get up. But what Elder Pie didn't expect was that the black-clothed man didn't even care about his shoulder blades being broken. He kicked Elder Pie, sending him flying away. This kind of situation where he wasn't afraid of pain and could still fight back as if nothing happened. Old Pie had never heard of such a situation before. Wasn't this too strange? In this kind of situation, if it was someone else, they would most likely scream and dodge first. But this person in front of him was completely different. What happened next made Old Pie even more confused. After the man in black got up from the ground, he swung his arms that he couldn't lift anymore and rushed towards Old Pie. If his arms couldn't do it, he could use his legs. When he got close to Old Pie, the man in black lifted his leg and kicked. Old Pie was speechless. How was this a master? He was simply a member of a suicide squad. He really dared to die. However, cursing was just cursing. Old Man Pie endured the internal injury from the kick and punched the man in black's leg with his fist. Old Pie only took a punch and a kick, but his injuries weren't light. He was a sky class early phase, but he didn't have chi to protect his body, and he didn't practice Golden Bell Shield, either. His defense was stronger than Chintian's, but he wasn't as strong as a sky class of the same level, and so this injury greatly reduced his mobility. He couldn't dodge, so he could only use his fist to meet the man's attack head-on. Old Pie used all the strength in his body for this punch. He only hoped that he could finish off the man in front of him as soon as possible, even if he got hurt. Boom! Both sides clashed fiercely. One side charged forward without fear of death, while the other side used all of his trump cards. When the two collided, although there was no earth-shattering explosion of energy that came from a battle between internal martial arts masters, it still brought about a thunderous sound. The man in black was sent flying, and Old Pie also took a few steps back before falling on his butt. The man's leg wasn't hard, and it wasn't the kind of physical practitioner who trained their body to the extreme. It was just a normal kick, and even Old Pie heard the sound of the man's bones breaking. He couldn't understand why the man in black had so much strength, and it didn't seem like he was in any pain at all. Did the injury have nothing to do with him? Old Pie's fist wasn't crippled, but the recoil still damaged his meridians. Luckily, he was a physical practitioner, and the damage to his meridians wasn't that big of an impact. But if he didn't treat it, it would affect his speed and strength in the future. Chapter 2267. The black-clothed man struggled on the ground. Although Old Pie was injured, he wouldn't let go of this opportunity to beat the man up. He went up and punched the man's other leg, causing him to lose his ability to attack. At the same time, Pai Jishan rode on the purple electric tempest beast and arrived at the door of the bungalow. Although the bungalow had a lock, it was useless to Pai Jishan. With one punch the lock broke, and he pushed the door open. Xinyan's mouth was sealed, and she was tied to the stool. She was shocked by the sudden turn of events, and looked at the stranger in front of her in fear. She hadn't seen Pai Jishan before, and she thought that he was with the kidnappers, trying to harm her. But Pai Jishan opened his mouth, and that calmed Xinyan's heart down instantly. Sister-in-law, I'm Boss Lin Yi's follower Pai Jishan. I'm here to save you, Pai Jishan said. Although Pai Jishan's way of addressing her made Xinyan blush, she couldn't care less at a time like this. As for the rope on Xinyan's body, Pai Jishan broke it with a light tug, and Xinyan tore off the seal on her mouth. Thank you. Don't say so much, we're supposed to help our boss. Pai Jishan waved his hand. Since he had decided that Lin Yi was their boss, he wouldn't be arrogant anymore. He pointed at the purple lightning beast. You ride the beast first, I'll go see my grandpa. All right. Xinyan nodded. She recognized the purple thunderbolt beast. That day, Chen Tian rode it to chase after her. Xinyan saw it clearly from the car. But Chen Tian and the purple thunderbolt beast weren't a match for the black-clothed man. And that worried her a little. She didn't think that one day later, Lin Yi's stronger man would come to save her. Pai Jishan came out of the house and saw that his grandpa was injured, but the black-clothed man was taken care of. He let out a sigh of relief. Grandpa, are you all right? I'm fine. Let's leave this place, the enemy is too strange. Elder Pai frowned. We can't stay here for long. If more enemies like this come, we'll die here. Pai Jishan nodded. He was very interested in finding the mastermind, but since Elder Pai said so, it meant that the enemy was too strong. It was best to leave as soon as possible. Since the black-clothed man was disabled, it'd be better to bring him back to the police for investigation. He shouldn't get himself involved. Saving Xinyan was the most important thing right now. The purple electric tempest beast's body was relatively large, so it was not too much to carry 4 people. It was also very spacious. Soon, the purple electric tempest beast returned to the villa. Chen Tian didn't expect Old Pai to finish the fight so quickly. He was about to praise him when he saw the look on Old Pai's face. He knew that he was heavily injured as well. This was quite a coincidence. If it was an ordinary heaven rank initial phase internal chi master, he might not have been able to deal with test subject number 2 so easily. After all, this guy could withstand 10 full blows from a heaven rank initial phase internal chi master. 10 strikes all at once wasn't that easy, but Elder Pai was a physical practitioner, and he was an expert in punches. His punches were very strong, and even if they weren't as strong as Air Gooden, they were still strong enough to split a mountain. He took care of the second test subject with just a few punches, but the price he paid was quite high. If it was a sky-class early phase spiritual practitioner, they wouldn't be so heavily injured. After all, spiritual practitioners had chi protection, but Elder Pai didn't. When Zhang Wen was creating the test subject, he had neglected the factor of physical practitioners. Otherwise, things wouldn't have been so easy to solve. My grandpa's injured too. Jishan smiled bitterly. We defeated the enemy and captured him. But it's not a complete victory. It's a Pyrrhic victory. It's fine. As long as he's not dead, boss will find a way. Chen Tian saw that Pai Jishan and Elder Pai came back alive, so he didn't mind anymore. He grinned. Why don't you guys stay here and wait for boss to come back? If that's the case, then we'll be troubling you. Jishan wanted to do that. 1. Elder Pai needed to rest, and 2. He could bring Jihai over to wait for Lin Yi to come back. Now that House Pai had saved his wife, he couldn't just keep pushing Jihai away, could he? Right, Wu, what do we do with the kidnappers? Elder Pai asked. Let the police. It's not good to tell the public about what you did. Chen Tian said. All right. Old Pai nodded. This was the safest way to hide the fact that House Pai's interference in the common world had already violated the agreement between the Hidden House Council and the Ancient Society. While it was done without anyone noticing, it was still better to keep a low profile. Thank you. Thank you, Xinyan said, finally able to relax after seeing Chen Tian in Mingyao's villa. She quickly thanked Pai Jishan and Elder Pai for saving her. You're welcome. Jishan waved his hand. Then I'll have to trouble you to call the police, Tian bro. I'll help Grandpa get some rest first. I won't be showing myself in a bit. All right. Chen Tian nodded, asking Grandma's son to prepare a room for Jishan and Elder Pai. After that, Chen Tian noticed that Xinyan was still standing there. Sister-in-law, have a seat. Oh. Xinyan was a little embarrassed at how Chen Tian addressed her. But it wasn't a good time to argue about it. Seeing that Xinyan didn't like to talk, Chen Tian didn't say much and called Lingshan. Wu Chen Tian? Lingshan had Chen Tian's number, so she knew it was him the moment she picked up. Yes, it's me, Xinyan's been saved and the kidnappers have been caught. But House Pai is involved, so it's better to keep a low profile. Chen Tian said. So, bring some people here to take them away, and it'll be your credit. Chapter 2268. Lingshan, however, didn't decline the offer. She'd just been transferred to Donghai, and if she wanted to establish herself here, she'd have to show some impressive achievements. Wu Qintian, on the other hand, knew how to pick the right time. All right, I'll bring my men over right away. Why don't you do it yourself? Qintian reminded. It's fine, it's my subordinate from Songshan, Lu Wangli. It'll be fine, Lingshan said. Lu Wangli knew about Lingshan's relationship with Lin Yi, and he'd been promoted to vice captain with Lingshan this time. He'd been a squadron captain before after all. All right, Qintian nodded. After calling Lingshan, Qintian called the miss, telling her that Xinyan was safe, and that there was no need to worry. The miss and Shu breathed a sigh of relief. It seemed like House Pai was reliable after all. But at the same time Scorpion, who went to the abandoned farm to deliver food, was shocked. Test subject 02 was gone, and so was Xinyan. There were traces of a fight, and there were traces of blood as well. The lock of the door had been broken with brute force, and the rope binding Xinyan had been broken with brute force as well. This proved that there had been a fierce fight here. But test subject 02 wasn't a match for them. She was nowhere to be found. This situation made Scorpion jump, but he didn't dare stay any longer. He knew how strong the test subject was. Even Wu Qintian and the purple thunderbolt beast weren't a match for him. The person who could defeat him and save Xinyan was definitely not an ordinary person. Scorpion wasn't a practitioner, but even if he was, he wouldn't dare stay any longer. He didn't want that person to come back and cause trouble for him. Scorpion dialed Zhang Wen's number as he drove away. Scorpion, how is it? Zhang Wen didn't know that something had happened. When bro, it's bad. Xinyan was rescued, and test subject 02 is nowhere to be found. But there are signs of a fight and blood. Scorpion said urgently. What? Zhang Wen jumped in shock. You saved him? Then where are you? Come back, don't stay. I've already left. Scorpion said. I wouldn't dare stay in a situation like this. It's good that you're back. Zhang Wen sighed. He didn't expect things to turn out this way. But Lin Yi wasn't home. So who saved Xinyan? Who could be a match for test subject 02? Lingshan was about to call for a meeting to discuss the kidnapping when she received Qintian's call. She quickly brought Lu Wangli to Lin Yi's villa. This was the first time Lingshan had come to Lin Yi's villa in Donghai, and Lu Wangli had gotten to know what had happened along the way. Lin Yi was the one who'd done it again. This time, Lin Yi wasn't here, and Lin Yi wasn't here. Lu Wangli didn't say much, however, and went straight to the police car with test subject number 2. Xinyan and Lingshan, on the other hand, got into the other car and drove back to the police station. Wang Zibin and Qinlin, naturally, thanked Lingshan profusely after seeing their daughter return safely. Lingshan was a little embarrassed, but Qintian had told her not to tell anyone about House Pai. So Xinyan didn't say much, only saying that Lingshan was the one who saved her. In the resting room, Wang Zibin and Qinlin talked to their daughter, while Lingshan sent the suspect to the hospital with the other officers. They were waiting for him to wake up and give his statement. Yinyan, I heard, you found a boyfriend at school? After asking about Yinyan's well-being, Xiao Qinlin asked the question she was most concerned about. Xinyan's face changed as she blushed. She didn't expect her mother to ask this. Qinlin saw the change in her daughter's face, and her expression changed as well. So it's true. I'm not really a boyfriend. I'm just a classmate I'm pretty close with. Xinyan was a little embarrassed, as if she'd been caught doing something bad. Just a classmate you're pretty close with? Qinlin didn't believe her. There was a girl called Mengyao who came. Did she say that? Xinyan didn't expect Mengyao to be the one to leak this out. She pursed her lips helplessly, not knowing how to explain herself. Yinyan, you're engaged. You're different from other people. If House Kong finds out, we won't be able to explain ourselves. Qinlin said worriedly, remembering how she'd been locked up by the Xiao family brothers, and how they'd used Wang Zibin's company as a threat. Alright, don't ask anymore. Wang Ziban frowned and cut Qinlin off. I didn't think much of that House Kang's kid. If Yin Yan has her own choice, then I'll give up the company. I've thought it through. And I've had enough. Especially with the kidnapping this time. The recovery of my lost daughter. It made me understand something. Nothing is more important than my daughter. I can give up on the company. And I can take out the 10 million that the kidnappers want with my entire fortune. So let's not force Yin Yan too much. It's fine as long as she likes it. But my family in House Kong. I'm afraid that they'll do something out of line. They're practitioners after all. And they have powerful backers behind them. Qinlin didn't have a choice. She was afraid that they'd do something out of line if she rejected the engagement. That's... Wang Ziban paused as he thought of the crux of the matter. He couldn't help but sigh, lost in thought. Mom, Dad, don't argue. I know what I'm doing. Xingyan sighed helplessly as she looked at her parents' troubled expressions. The atmosphere in the resting room became heavy and strange. Wang Ziban and Qinlin looked at their daughter, sighing with guilt. Qinlin especially wasn't happy with what her brothers were doing, but there was nothing she could do. Xingyan's heart was a mess. Her parents had found out about her and Lin Yi after all. What should she do? Should she let nature take its course? Or should she draw a line with Lin Yi? But Xingyan knew that she and Lin Yi weren't taking their relationship any further. And she didn't want to change her lifestyle for a random fiancé. Plus, she didn't like this fiancé at all. Xingyan couldn't help but feel a headache coming on. Chapter 2269. Lingshan's crime-solving skills surprised her new colleagues. They had no clue at all about this kidnapping case. But Lingshan had gone out, and not only did she rescue the hostages, she'd even caught the kidnappers. The kidnappers looked a little pitiful, but he deserved what he got. What depressed them was that the kidnappers' eyes were lifeless, and he didn't say anything. It was as if he didn't understand her at all. Lingshan had thought that he'd been beaten senseless by Old Pai. But after the doctor's examination, that wasn't the case. An unknown drug had been injected into the kidnapper's body, and the kidnapper's brain had been destroyed as well. To put it bluntly, this person was an idiot. If it weren't for the fact that he'd woken up with a cast on his arms and legs, and had broken the metal bed with one punch, everyone would have suspected that he was the kidnapper. But this person's strength and destructive power made people believe in how scary he was. This familiar situation reminded Lingshan of a case in Songshan. The bank robbery case with the fake Lin Yi. Back then, the fake Lin Yi was like this as well. Lingshan didn't dare tarry, and quickly reported it to Huaijuan. Donghai's situation came to an end for now. In the middle of the Wulonghout Mountains, Lin Yi, Sun Jingyi, and Skybolt Pig were caught in a huge net that fell from the sky. Not only did the net tighten rapidly, not giving Lin Yi any chance to escape, but they were also hung up in the air. And so, Lin Yi, Sun Jingyi, and Skybolt Pig were all suspended in the air. Lin Yi subconsciously wanted to use his hands to tear the net apart, but it was extremely sturdy, and Lin Yi couldn't break it with his bare hands at all. In the next moment, Lin Yi saw who they were. But these couldn't be considered people. They were giant spiders. Speaking of spiders, many people would associate it with a more terrifying appearance. However, these spiders didn't look scary. Instead, they were somewhat cute. They were like the chibi version of spiders in comics. The color patterns on their bodies were also very beautiful. It was similar to the Skybolt Pig. Although the Skybolt Pig was a pig, it didn't look as stupid as a pig. Instead, it looked very cute. Needless to say, Lin Yi knew that these spiders were probably some kind of ancient spiritual beasts. Maybe they were ancient spiders. In a place like the Wulonghout mountain range with abundant spiritual energy, it was normal for there to be more ancient spiritual beasts. If it was an ordinary mountain range, there probably wouldn't be a single ancient spiritual beast. You guys are ancient spiritual beasts, right? Why did you capture us? After Lin Yi roughly confirmed the identity of these spiders, he didn't show any hostility. Instead, he used a very friendly tone to talk to them. This was because Lin Yi knew that they should be able to understand his words. As expected, after the spiders heard Lin Yi's words, they looked at each other, but none of them answered Lin Yi's words. Perhaps it was because they were too weak to speak the human language, Or perhaps they could speak, but didn't want to say it. However, the first possibility was more likely. Because Lenny took a look, he realized that there were 2 mystic spiders, and the rest were golden spiders. They shouldn't be able to speak the human language. These spiders ignored Lin-Yi. Instead, they dragged Lin-Yi, Sun-Jing-Yi, and the Skybolt pig's big net, and quickly moved towards a direction. Lin-Yi looked at the Skybolt pig, and signaled it to communicate with these spiders. Squeak, squeak. The Skybolt pig repeated what Lin-Yi said before in the spiritual beast language. At first, these spiders didn't pay attention to the Skybolt pig. However, when they suddenly heard the Skybolt pig speaking the spiritual beast language, one of the spiders looked at the Skybolt pig in the big net in surprise. However, it didn't reply and continued to move forward with the big net. Seeing that no spiders replied to it, the Skybolt pig felt a little helpless. He looked at Lin-Yi and shook his head. Lin-Yi smiled bitterly. It seemed that these spiders were most likely the big fire lion's enemies. But why did these spiders want to capture him? Could it be that they knew that he was friends with the big fire lions? Or was it because he accidentally trespassed into their territory? If it was the latter, then it should be easier to resolve. These spiders were probably trying to capture them back to their nest. As Lin-Yi expected, these spiders brought Lin-Yi and the others to a naturally formed cave. There were many spider spiritual beasts patrolling the vicinity of the cave. Lin-Yi took a look and saw that they were around the yellow rank. There were also some mystic rank, but only a few of them. However, there was a big spider inside the cave that attracted Lin-Yi's attention. A heaven rank spiritual beast was similar to the big fire lion. Sure enough, if they weren't of the same rank, how could they be opponents? Since it was a heaven rank spiritual beast, it should be able to speak the human language, just like the big fire lion. Therefore, Lin-Yi didn't need the Skybolt pig to translate for him. The big net was opened, and Lin-Yi and the others were placed on the ground. Lin-Yi then climbed out of the big net. He looked a little embarrassed, but facing a heaven-rank spiritual beast clan, there was nothing to be ashamed of. You are the leader of these spiritual beasts, right? I know you can understand me and communicate with me. Lin-Yi didn't panic. He calmly stood up and looked at the biggest heaven-rank spider. What is your purpose for coming to my territory? A human cultivator. The heaven-rank spider didn't answer Lin-Yi's question. Instead, it directly asked a question. But this also indirectly answered Lin-Yi's question, which was that it could speak the human language. Entered by mistake. Even if I said so, you wouldn't believe me. Lin-Yi saw the ridicule in the heaven-rank spider's eyes, and immediately changed his tone. He simply told the truth. I was avoiding the pursuit of my enemies, and had no choice but to take this path down the mountain. I can't take the normal path anymore. How can I believe you? The heaven-rank spider asked after hearing Lin-Yi's words. With our strength, would you believe me if I said that we came to look for trouble? Lin-Yi smiled bitterly and shrugged his shoulders. Normally, I wouldn't believe you, but now is a special time. I can't help but doubt your purpose for coming here. The heaven-rank spider said. Moreover, I smell a familiar aura from your body. What is your relationship with the Fire Lion clan? Chapter 2270. However, on the surface, Lin-Yi still maintained his composure and said, my previous identity was that of an adventurer. I went up the mountain with the Tagan family to capture the small fire lions, but there were some problems, and the capture of the small fire lions was only a pretense. I had other purposes for going up the mountain, so I had a conflict with the Tagan family. Lin-Yi was purely asking and not answering, but it also showed that he had fought with the Fire Lion clan, so it was normal for him to have the aura of the fire lions on his body. You captured the small fire lions? Then why would they give you their most important flowing fire god bullets? The heaven-rank spider looked at Lin-Yi with ridicule. Human cultivator, you are very dishonest. Since that's the case, I can only lock you up first. Flowing fire god bullets. Lin-Yi didn't expect that the heaven-rank spider would actually discover that he had the flowing fire god bullets on him. This made him very shocked. Wasn't this heaven-rank spider a bit too powerful? That's a weapon used by the Fire Lion clan to fight against us. It can break our inescapable net. How could I not be familiar with that kind of thing when you carry it on you? The heaven-rank spider's voice was somewhat cold. Tell the truth or be locked up. You can choose for yourself. However, after being locked up by us, you might not think of you for 8 to 10 years. Whether you can persevere for that long will depend on your luck. Alright, since that's the case, I'll be straightforward. Lenny sighed. He originally guessed that the Spider Spirit Beast clan was definitely the Fire Lion clan's enemy, so he didn't intend to reveal his relationship with the Fire Lion clan to avoid unnecessary trouble. But now, it seemed that the heaven-rank spider wasn't that easy to deceive. He had no choice but to tell the truth. Lenny could only tell the truth. The reason why I didn't say it before was because I had indeed intruded into your territory by mistake. I didn't want to disturb you. I just wanted to borrow the way down the mountain. If my guess is correct, you are the Fire Lion clan's enemy in the Wulonghout mountain range, right? Not bad. The heaven-rank spider straightforwardly admitted. I'm indeed related to the Fire Lion clan, but it's like this. After saying that, Lenny told the heaven-rank spider about the purpose of his trip, how he joined the Tagan family's adventurer guild to participate in the mission, how he became enemies with the Tagan dragon, how he secretly helped the small Fire Lion clan, how he became friends with the Fire Lion clan, how he went up the mountain to obtain a treasure, how he was attacked by the Tagan family's experts, and how he was saved by the heaven-rank strange man. Naturally, Lenny didn't mention that he was healing the small lion and increasing its strength. Lenny couldn't say for the time being, especially since the heaven-rank spider and the Flame Lion clan were enemies. If Lenny mentioned it, the heaven-rank spider might do something out of anger. That heaven-rank old man is your master? The heaven-rank spider asked in a strange tone. You are also related to that sect on the mountain? Master, it could be considered a mistake, but we are indeed related to that sect, Lenny said. You don't seem to be lying, but I can't let you go now, the heaven-rank spider said. Although I have some friendship with your master, my son is missing. I suspect that this matter was done by the Fire Lion clan, so I want to use you as a bargaining chip to exchange for my son's safety with the Fire Lion clan. Your son? Captured by the Fire Lion clan? When did this happen? Lenny suddenly froze. About 10 days ago. The heaven-rank spider didn't hide it. Then it definitely couldn't have been done by them. Lenny said. It hasn't even been 10 days since I left the Fire Lion clan's lair. I haven't seen your son. Perhaps he is imprisoned in a certain place. The heaven-rank spider hesitated for a bit before saying, that shouldn't be the case. I don't think so. Why don't you tell me about your son? There might be some clues. Lenny said. That's fine. The heaven-rank spider wasn't afraid of Lin. He's stirring up trouble in its territory. It's like this. 10 days ago, my son went to the other side of the Wulonghout mountain range to gather a natural treasure. That place isn't our territory or the Fire Lion clan's. It's only a public area. That place produces some natural treasures every year. But the natural treasure my son gathered is only useful to our spider clan. But the Fire Lion clan also knows when it matures, and my son still hasn't returned. Moreover, the subordinates I sent to look for him haven't found any clues, so I can't help but suspect that the Fire Lion clan did this to him. Oh? Lenny frowned. If what the heaven-rank spider said was true, then the suspect might really be the Fire Lion clan. But Lenny felt that it should be the Fire Lion clan, or else Lenny wouldn't have known about it. Gigi. Just as Lenny was pondering with a frown, wondering how to make the spiders let them off, the lightning pig suddenly shouted. Lightning pig. Lenny lowered his head to look at the lightning pig, but the lightning pig's words were clearly not directed at Lenny, but rather at the heaven-rank spider. Oh, little thing, why are you asking if there are any more heavenly treasures? The heaven-rank spider doubtfully looked at the lightning pig. Hearing the heaven-rank spider's explanation, Lenny slightly froze, but he instantly thought of something and said, the lightning pig is also an ancient spirit beast, but its ability is to search for treasures. I wonder if you have heard of this kind of spirit beast? Oh, search for treasures? This kind of spirit beast really exists? The heaven-ranked spider looked at the skybolt pig in shock. But when it saw the pig nodding its head proudly, it immediately understood what the Skybolt pig meant. If you have the same kind of treasure, you can find my son in the same way? The lightning pig nodded, but it continued to explain with a GG sound. It meant that it could only find this kind of heavenly treasure, but if its son wasn't with the heavenly treasure, then it would be powerless. That's already very amazing. After saying that, the heaven-rank spider gave a few instructions to its subordinates, and they immediately left. Not long after, they returned with a small box, and the heaven-rank spider had its subordinates give the small box to the lightning pig. The lightning pig used its 2 front paws to open the box, and carefully sniffed the contents before walking towards the exit of the cave. However, the spider's subordinates didn't stop it, they just let it walk out of the cave. Chapter 2271. GG. The Skybolt pig called out twice in one direction, then stretched out his front paw and pointed in a direction. The heaven spider was a little surprised. It didn't tell Lin Yi and the others which direction the treasure was produced in, but the Skybolt pig pointed out the general direction accurately. Therefore, at this moment, it was even more convinced that the Skybolt pig was really capable. Let's go and take a look together. Thinking of this, the heaven spider's attitude towards Lin Yi and Sun Jingyi became a lot friendlier. It believed that they really wanted to help it. Okay. Lin Yi nodded. He didn't think about escaping. After all, the so-called inescapable net of these spiders was a little scary. It was very difficult to escape from that big net. The heaven spider personally took a few more mystic rank spiders with Lin Yi and Sun Jingyi. They quickly followed the Skybolt pig towards the direction it pointed. Looking at the number of spiders, Lin Yi found it hard to imagine that the Fire Lion clan could actually be evenly matched with the Spider clan in a situation where the number of their clansmen was unequal. Perhaps the Spider's attack power was relatively weak, while the Fire Lion clan's attack power was relatively strong. This was also the reason why the two clans couldn't do anything to each other. The key was that the treasure here was limited. People of the same trade were enemies. One mountain cannot accommodate 2 tigers, so small conflicts would definitely not end. This Firestream God Bomb might be the weapon to break the big net. But Lin Yi only had one left. He didn't think that he could escape from the siege of so many spiders. As the Skybolt pig walked further and further away, the heaven spider became more and more surprised. Because the Skybolt pig was walking towards the place where the treasure grew. But even though it was surprised, the heaven-rank spider became even more worried. Since the heavenly lightning pig found the place where the treasure was produced, but didn't find the place where the treasure was, what was the reason? The treasure here had already been picked. Even the little spider, the son of the heaven spider, had disappeared. The heaven-rank spider had also sent its subordinates to search this path many times, but they couldn't find any traces of the small spider. I have already sent my subordinates to search many times on this road, but they didn't find any traces of my son. The heaven-rank spider said to the lightning pig. It was using human language so that Lin Yi could understand it. Gigi. The Skybolt pig shook its head and responded to the heaven-rank spider, telling it not to be noisy and not to be impatient. A mystic late-phase peak spirit beast actually dared to do this to a heaven-class spirit beast. Normally, the heaven-class spider would have been furious, but now, it had no choice but to listen to the pig and wait for its next move. Skybolt pig came to the place where the heavenly treasure was produced. It was a big tree, and the fruits on it had already been plucked. However, Skybolt pig still stayed here for half a day, carefully smelling the scent of the place. Then he suddenly turned around and walked in another direction. There was a steep cliff over there. The direction that Skybolt pig went made the heaven-rank spider and Lin Yi very confused. Could it be that the small spider fell down the cliff? But obviously this was impossible. The heaven-rank spider was the first to deny this idea. Their spider race knew how to make silk, so no matter how deep they fell, they could still make it back up. This was also why it didn't send anyone to check on the other side of the cliff. However, when Skybolt pig came to the edge of the cliff, he pointed at the bottom of the cliff and kept making GG sounds. What? You mean to say that my son fell down the cliff? The heaven-rank spider asked in confusion. Gigi. Skybolt Pig nodded. Are you sure? The heaven-rank spider didn't really believe Skybolt Pig's words. But Skybolt Pig had found this place from the spider race's territory. So the heaven-rank spider couldn't help but believe that it had the ability to find treasures. Gigi. Skybolt Pig was a little impatient this time. Okay. The heaven-rank spider nodded and said to its subordinates. Make a net. Let's go down and take a look. These spiders didn't need to make a net to go down the cliff. They could just pull a thread and go down. But Lin-Yi, Sun-Jingi, and Skybolt Pig couldn't. Although Lin-Yi could go down by himself with his strength, there was a ready-made cable car. So why not? The heaven-rank spider went down first, while Lin-Yi and the others sat on the big net made by the other spiders. But when they reached the bottom of the valley, they heard the heaven-rank spider scream. It was because it found a small spider in a pile of rubble. At this moment, the small spider was pressed down by a pile of rocks and couldn't move. When it saw the heaven-rank spider and the others coming to save it, it immediately cried out. This small spider didn't seem to have much strength and didn't have any attack power. But it made sense. The spiders mainly relied on making nets to trap enemies, but their strength wasn't that great. Especially the small spider. Its strength was only at the early phase of the golden class, so it couldn't have much strength. No wonder it couldn't get out after being pressed down by a pile of rubble. Under the command of the heaven-rank spider, the other spiders quickly moved the rubble away, and the small spider was also saved. However, the small spider's legs were injured by the rubble, so it couldn't move at the moment. And the reason why the small spider fell down the cliff was now clear. It turned out that the small spider found a treasure on the edge of the cliff and wanted to take it back. But who would have thought that the rocks on the edge of the cliff would loosen, and the small spider's silk wouldn't be able to support it? Instead, the loose rocks were pulled down, so the small spider fell down the cliff. Its body was pressed down by the rubble, and its legs were injured, so it naturally couldn't struggle out. The matter turned out to be that simple. But the spiders ignored the cliff and only searched the nearby mountain range, so they naturally couldn't find any traces of the small spider. But the heaven-rank spider glanced at the small spider picking the treasure on the edge of the cliff, and a gloomy expression flashed in its eyes, as if it was somewhat worried. Chapter 2272. The heaven-rank spider's attitude was very sincere when it said this. It looked like it was truly grateful to Lin-Yi from the bottom of its heart. But it couldn't be blamed. Its son had been missing for so many days, and had been found by the lightning pig brought by Lin-Yi. How could it not be excited and happy? It's good that you found him. Lin-Yi nodded and said, So can we leave now? Of course. Anytime, the heaven-rank spider said. But in order to express my gratitude, I ask you to give me a chance. Let our spider race entertain you, and offer you some heaven and earth treasures. There's no need for a banquet. We don't want to stay in the mountain range for too long. If possible, it would be better to leave as soon as possible. Lin-Yi waved his hand. He wasn't interested in the spider race's hospitality, but he was interested in the heaven and earth treasures. I don't think you are in a hurry, right? Moreover, if you don't want to go through the mountain range's main path, and instead want to go down the mountain, then our spider race can still help you. The heaven-rank spider said. Apart from the main path, the other paths are incomparably dangerous. If you are careless, you might die without a burial. Oh, Lin-Yi frowned and looked at the heaven-rank spider. So you have a good method? Yes, we are very familiar with the terrain of the Wulong-Hout mountain range. Apart from the main path, there is only one path down the mountain, but it is very difficult to find. This route down the mountain is only known to our spider race. We can help you draw up a simple route map. With our route map, you can take fewer detours and avoid unnecessary danger, the heaven-rank spider explained. I can't say that it will be smooth, but it will at least minimize the risk. Since that's the case, then it will be troublesome. Seeing the enthusiasm of the heaven-rank spider, Lin-Yi couldn't refuse, especially since it had a map. This would reduce Lin-Yi's troubles, and Lin-Yi and Sun-Jingi would also be able to avoid some danger when going down the mountain. But at this time, A few of the spider's subordinates that were inspecting the small spider's injuries worriedly whispered a few words to the heaven-rank spider. The heaven-rank spider's expression suddenly became unsightly. "What's wrong?" Linny couldn't understand their language. "My son's leg is very serious. He might not be able to recover in the future." The heaven-rank spider sighed and said, "But this is already very good. At least we found him and saved him. I am already very satisfied. I don't know what would happen if he fell into the hands of the Fire Lion clan. Maybe I can have a way," Linny said after some hesitation. After all, the heaven-rank spider didn't seem that difficult to get along with. And it even gave Linny a treasure and a map. This made Linny feel that he should repay them. After all, he was the one who intruded into their territory, so he couldn't be blamed for catching him. "What? You have a way?" The heaven-rank spider was stunned and looked at Linny in disbelief. The injuries of spirit beasts are different from human cultivators. They can't be healed by eating elixirs. Elixirs are useful for human cultivators, but their effects are negligible for us spirit beasts. "Naturally, it's not elixirs," Linny said. "Let me do it." After saying that, Linny walked towards the small spider. As for the spider subordinates, they were somewhat on guard when they saw Linny walking over. But seeing that the heaven-rank spider didn't stop him, they naturally didn't stop him. Linny walked in front of the small spider, placed his hand on its body, and circulated the second layer of the art of dragon mastery. The small spider naturally knew that Linny was one of the people who helped it discover, so it didn't resist. It only listened to Lin Yi's words, and had some doubts in its heart. However, the next moment, a warm current flowed from Lin Yi's palm into its body, surprising the small spider. And its injuries were miraculously recovering at a speed that it could feel. It was really recovering. The heaven-rank spider was naturally a discerning person. Seeing that its son's injuries were recovering, its gaze towards Lin Yi became even more respectful and grateful. This human cultivator was really different from the rest. On the other hand, Sun Jingyi and Skybolt Pig had indifferent expressions, especially Skybolt Pig. Although he wasn't as powerful as the heaven-rank spider, and didn't dare to act rashly, he still looked at it with a very proud expression. "It's done." Linny stood up and said straightforwardly, "That's it." The heaven-rank spider's eyes widened. Although it saw that the small spider's injuries were getting better, it couldn't be that fast, right? Wasn't this speed a bit too shocking? However, Linny didn't answer. The small spider's actions had already answered the question. The small spider could walk normally, and it looked like it had never been injured. "Many thanks, human cultivator." Although the heaven-rank spider was grateful to Lin Yi, it wasn't that it didn't hold a grudge against him. The good relationship between Lin Yi and the Fire Lion clan made it a little uncomfortable. But now, it didn't care whether Lin Yi and the Fire Lion clan had a good relationship. This was because Lin Yi was a great benefactor to the Spider clan. "You are a great benefactor to our Spider clan. My son and I will never forget it. If you need anything in the future, just say the word." Lin Yi shrugged. The Fire Lion clan had made a similar promise to Lin Yi. He didn't expect the Spider clan to make a similar promise to Lin Yi. However, the spirit beasts of these two clans were mortal enemies, which gave Lin Yi a headache. But Lin Yi didn't want to get involved in the grievances between them. A mountain couldn't accommodate two tigers. Everyone understood this principle. Especially when spirit beasts were scarce in cultivation resources, there was no possibility of resolving the conflict between the two clans. Making them sit down and divide the resources was a very difficult matter. "Are you having a headache about the relationship between our Spider clan and the Fire Lion clan?" The heaven-rank spider seemed to have seen through Lin Yi's thoughts and asked. "Yes, you are all my friends now." Lin Yi nodded. It is normal for spirit beasts in the same mountain range to compete with each other. This has been the case since ancient times. The heaven-rank spider explained with a smile. Only competition can promote the continuous development and cultivation of our two clans. If we really divided the cultivation resources, then our days would be easy, and we wouldn't have to cultivate so hard. Chapter 2273. We spirit beasts have our own set of survival rules, the heaven-rank spider said. Although the Fire Lion clan and I are enemies now, if there are other spirit beasts that want to occupy the Wulong Haut mountain range and get a share, our two clans will join hands to expel the other spirit beasts. I was thinking too much. Lenny nodded. Benefactor of human cultivators, how should I address you? The heaven-rank spider asked. My name is Lin Yi. This is my female companion Sun Jingyi. This little thing is called Skybolt Pig. Lin Yi introduced Sun Jingyi's identity in front of the heaven-rank spider as his companion. He didn't say that she was his wife, because there was no need to lie to it. Mr. Lin, Miss Sun, shall we go back now? I will prepare a sumptuous banquet for you and offer our spider clan's treasures. The heaven-rank spider said. Since the Fire Lion clan gave you their treasure, the Flaming God Bomb, then our spider clan will not show weakness. We will also give you our most valuable treasure. Oh, the spider clan's most valuable treasure? Lin Yi was slightly surprised. The heaven-rank spider's attitude towards him was obviously different. Previously, it only said that it would give him a heavenly treasure, but now, it wanted to give him the spider clan's most valuable treasure. Of course, Lin Yi also understood that this was definitely because he had saved the little spider. That was why the heaven-rank spider was so generous. There was no such thing as an undeserved reward, but Lin Yi had done a meritorious deed, so he wouldn't refuse. This is the most valuable treasure we used to capture you, the inescapable net. The heaven-rank spider said. This kind of inescapable net is something that many spiders of our spider clan spun together for a long time to weave. However, I can grit my teeth and give you 3. The heaven-rank spider said 3 was naturally referring to the 3 flaming god bombs that the Fire Lion clan gave to Lin Yi. If the Fire Lion clan could take it out, then they naturally wouldn't be outdone. As for the Fire Lion clan swallowing Lin Yi's frenzy fist, it could still make a flaming god bomb for a period of time. The heaven-rank spider naturally couldn't compare. 3 inescapable nets was already his limit, and this was even after going all out and taking out all of his family's wealth. Their spider clan didn't have the ability to swallow the frenzied fire fist to create a large web. Thinking about it, Lin Yi and the Fire Lion clan were really fated. Fortunately, Lin Yi and the spider race were friends, so it was impossible for him to stay with the big Fire Lion indefinitely. Otherwise, the Great Fire Lion could use Lin Yi's frenzied fire fist to create Stream of Inferno bombs, although it would take a long time to create each time. But this time was enough to make it much faster than if Lin Yi were to settle in the Wulong Haut mountain range for a long time. Then the Fire Lion clan would probably make more fire stream bombs. At that time, the number of inescapable net on his side would not be able to keep up, and the spider clan would suffer a loss. But Lin Yi had received benefits from the spider race, and it looked like Lin Yi wouldn't stay in the Wulong Haut mountain range for a long time. So the heaven-rank spider was very relieved. This inescapable net is very strange. Naturally, Lin Yi knew about the large net that he had been caught in. That large net was extremely tough. With Lin Yi's ability, he would not be able to withstand it. It could not be destroyed in the slightest. Not bad, the heaven-rank spider proudly said. The Fire Lion clan is an attack-type spirit beast. It's a huge blow to our spider clan. Therefore, in order to defend against their attacks when they are picking the treasures, we can use the inescapable net to trap them. In this way, they won't be able to break free in a short period of time. What about in the short term? In other words, it's possible to break free? Lin Yi asked. Of course, the Great Flame Lion's breath and the Little Flame Lion's flaming divine bullets can destroy the inescapable net. But it will take some time. This time is enough for us to escape back. The heaven-rank spider said. It's near our cave. The Fire Lion clan wouldn't come to our cave and attack us for no reason. That's right, there's an ancient restriction formation here. Lin Yi nodded. The Fire Lion clan's cave also had an ancient restriction. It seemed that these spirit beasts had their own trump cards. Then, can my flaming divine bullets also destroy this inescapable net? Lin Yi asked. Apart from that, is there no other way to destroy this inescapable net? Your flaming divine bullets naturally can. The heaven-rank spider replied. But it's not that other people don't have a way. They can destroy the inescapable net by constantly activating martial skills, or using weapons infused with true energy. However, even a heaven-rank expert needs a certain amount of time to destroy this inescapable net. I understand. This is a magic weapon that can tie up the enemy in an instant. But it's a one-time use item, and can't be recycled. Linny understood the use of this thing. It had to be said that this thing was the same as the flaming divine bullets. It was an excellent life-saving trump card. If Linny had this thing earlier, he wouldn't have been in such a difficult situation when fighting against the Great Protector. He could have directly used the net to trap him. At that time, he could have used true energy bombs and flaming divine bullets to bombard him. Then, he could have escaped with Sun Jingyi and wouldn't have been injured. That's it. The heaven-rank spider said. Currently, we only have these 3 pieces of the inescapable net. So Mr. Lin, please don't think that we are stingy. Of course not. Linny was too happy. For him, treating the small spider was a piece of cake. The Skybolt pig helped the heaven-rank spider find the small spider in order to get rid of the suspicion and leave this place. Therefore, these 3 pieces of the inescapable net were free. Thank you for your understanding, benefactor. The heaven-rank spider said. As they talked, they returned to the spider clan's cave. The heaven-rank spider ordered the other spiders to prepare a banquet, while it accompanied Lin Yi to chat with the small spider in the cave. Linny looked at the 3 exquisite small nets in his hand. It was hard to imagine that this was the big net that had caught them before. However, this thing would only expand when it was in use. Normally, it was only the size of a small piece, and could be carried at any time. After carefully asking about the method to use it, Linny carefully put it away. This was a great thing. Lin Yi's harvest from this trip to the Wulonghout mountain range was quite plentiful. Mr. Lin, although the gift I took out might be a bit light, but I still have a very important news to tell you as a token of our spider clan's gratitude. The heaven-rank spider pondered for a long time before deciding to tell this news. Oh, what news? Linny asked. Chapter 2274. Heavenly Tao. Lin Yi's heart skipped a beat. This wasn't the first time he heard of this term. There should be a higher realm above sky class. This realm might be the legendary Heavenly Tao, but at least among the people Lin Yi had met, there wasn't a Heavenly Tao master. But no didn't mean it didn't exist. Things were often like this. If you didn't stand at a certain height, you wouldn't be able to come into contact with things at that height. Just like Lin Yi in the past, the noble houses were all high and mighty existences in front of Lin Yi. A secular house you once made Lin Yi embarrassed. When he first knew about the secular noble houses, how could Lin Yi have thought that there were hidden noble houses above the noble houses? When Lin Yi came into contact with the hidden noble houses and sects, Lin Yi realized that there were ancient noble houses and ancient sects above them. This was like a normal person who might never come into contact with a cultivator in his lifetime. Those golden class masters who acted as bodyguards for the rich. If they were just bodyguards, they might never come into contact with noble houses and mystic class masters. The logic was the same. The higher one stood, the farther one could see. That's right, but I don't know if there are higher realms above sky class. The heaven spider said, human cultivators are different from spiritual beasts. At least, I don't know if spiritual beasts have broken through sky class and entered the heavenly Tao. Then you mean that you know about human cultivators and the heavenly Tao? Lin Yi asked. The topic of the heaven spider was quite attractive to Lin Yi. That's right. You guys have some connection with the upper sect. I won't hide it from you guys. In the upper sect, there was a master at the peak of the late stage of sky class, infinitely close to the legendary barrier. The heaven spider said. And he after that went to pursue the heavenly Tao. The master of the fire lion? Lin Yi heard the fire lion mention this person. You know about it too. The heaven spider was a bit surprised. It didn't expect the fire lion clan to tell Lin Yi this. Yes, I heard. After he pursued the heavenly Tao, his whereabouts are unknown. Lin Yi nodded. It's not that I don't know where he ended up, but he went to another place. A legendary place where one can break through the barrier of peak late stage of heaven rank, said the heaven rank spider. You know where he went? Ling Yi's expression froze as he asked. It seemed that the heaven rank spider knew more than the big fire lion. What was going on? I don't know where he went, but I know how he went. The heaven rank spider said. Our spider race helped him in this matter. You? Help him? Ling Yi's eyes widened. Isn't that person the Great Fire Lion's contract owner? You and the Fire Lion clan are enemies and he and you. Is it strange? The heaven rank spider looked at Lin Yi strangely. The Fire Lion clan owes him a favor, so the Great Fire Lion became his contracted spirit beast. He also owes us a favor, so our relationship is very good. Just like Mr. Lin's relationship with us and the Fire Lion clan. Oh, that's true. Lin Yi smiled bitterly. He didn't expect the previous one to be in the same situation. Then how did he go there? A teleportation array. The heaven rank spider said. Legend says that it can reach a place called Heaven Island. There, one can advance to the heavenly Tao. Heaven Island. Lin Yi frowned. Do you know the location of this teleportation array? I do. The heaven rank spider nodded. Legend has it that there are 2 ways to reach the heaven rank island. One is a secret manual that records a method to construct a teleportation array that can reach the heaven rank island. As for the other method, I'm not too sure. It seems that it requires a group of people to go to a place to open something. Build a teleportation array? You're not trying to tell me that someone built a teleportation array here, are you? In this ancient sect? Lin Yi was very shocked. He didn't expect that the Wulanhate mountain range, which had been turned into ashes, still hid such a huge secret. That's right. The heaven rank spider said with certainty. This array was created by the founder of this sect. Legend says that it can be used 3 times. He used it once, and that person, who is the contracted master of the Great Fire Lion, used it once. Now, he should be able to use it again. Hiss! Lin Yi sucked in a breath of cold air. Only 3 times? Moreover, he was actually so lucky to find this teleportation array. We are from the Spider Clan. Back then, we were also a spirit beast clan that helped the founder build the teleportation array. The heaven rank spider said. Actually, I am the contracted spirit beast of the founder of this sect. I'm going to faint. Lin Yi felt like his brain had short-circuited. The heaven rank spider was actually the contracted spirit beast of the founder of this sect? How long had it lived for? Plus, it and the Fire Lion clan, the contracted spirit beast of the future sect master, were enemies? Weird, right? The heaven rank spider smiled. This secret is actually only known by me and the Fire Lion clan. Even the successors of this sect don't know about it. Then why are you guys fighting each other? Lin Yi didn't understand. In theory, aren't you guys from the same family? I've explained it before. Competition is the only way to stimulate everyone's passion for training. The spider said. Don't even talk about us. Even the disciples of the same sect compete with each other? Even the disciples of the same family. Don't they compete with each other? Aren't they from the same family? That's true. Lin Yi imagined Yu Bing and Yu Shan, Zhao Qibing and Zhao Qikuan, and it was true. Our bottom line is that we can fight each other, but we can't kill each other. The heaven rank spider said. Otherwise, although our spider race has the advantage in numbers, it wouldn't be too hard for the Fire Lion race to exterminate us. Other than me, it's easy for them to deal with the other spiders. Even so, we still have a lot of injuries. But we still have a knack for healing these kinds of injuries, so we won't be crippled. Chapter 2275. If we can stop them, we will, but if we can't, we won't force our way out. The heaven rank spider said. This is also the ancestral teaching that my master left for me. The big flame lion side is probably the same. After all, our 2 spirit beast clans only have 2 heaven rank spirit beasts. We can't contend against a large number of heaven rank human cultivators. If we can't do it, we will naturally protect ourselves. Our spider clan's duty is to wait for a peak heaven rank great perfection stage expert to appear in this sect and tell him the secret of the teleportation array. That's all. Then tell me now, wouldn't that violate your master's agreement? Linny asked. This sect is already gone. Moreover, you have some relationship with this sect, so telling you naturally wouldn't be violating the agreement. The heaven-rank spider said. Linny nodded and sighed. An ancient sect was actually destroyed in an instant. Do you know who the enemy is? I'm not sure. The heaven-rank spider shook its head and said, the enemy is very strong, and there are many heaven-rank experts. An innocent man's wealth is his own ruin. Linny sighed. For a so-called treasure, they actually made such a big fuss. Linny originally wanted to inquire about Falbert's enemies, but now it seemed that even the big flame lion and the heaven-rank spider were confused. Treasure. Naturally, that's the reason. But what they're looking for isn't the treasure. The spider's words shocked Linny, making him jump in fright. It's not a treasure. Linny was surprised. You can say that, but you can also say that it isn't. The heaven-rank spider said. This sect has two people pursuing the heavenly Tao, so it naturally attracted the greed of some forces. According to what I heard from those people, they heard that this sect has something that can help them break through the heaven rank and pursue the heavenly Tao. So they came to snatch it. But the treasure in your hands is being treated as something that can help them break through the heaven rank and pursue the heavenly Tao. Treated as something? Linny frowned. After carefully pondering over the heaven-rank spider's words, he suddenly understood a few things. They are actually looking for that teleportation array, right? It's just that they don't know that there's a teleportation array here. And they think that the treasure is a treasure that can help them break through the heavenly rank and step into the heavenly Tao. That's it. The spider nodded. That treasure is indeed a treasure. It can provide pure chi to human cultivators. But I'm not sure if it can help a peak late-phase heaven stage cultivator enter the heavenly Tao. But this treasure was discovered by this sect in the last few decades, so it's impossible for it to be something that those people are imagining. So, it's a big misunderstanding. Linny smiled bitterly. Falbert was really unlucky. He made a treasure and caused others to misunderstand. It can't be considered a mistake. After all, the value of this treasure is immeasurable, said the heaven-rank spider. You're right, Linny said in agreement. Linny knew the benefits of his jade pendant space, although this strange white stone couldn't be compared with the jade pendant space. But if he took it out alone, it was still a very rare treasure in the world. Sun Jingyi quietly listened to the conversation between Lin Yi and the heaven-rank spider. Her heart was in turmoil. These things were too shocking. It was simply unimaginable. However, Linny didn't seem to be on guard against her at all. Heaven stage, heavenly Tao. Although these things were very far away from Sun Jingyi was also a cultivator. She naturally understood the significance of these things. If the news spread, it would probably set off a storm, a legend. It could destroy an ancient sect. If they actually found the teleportation array, then it was really hard to say what kind of consequences it would bring. Was this trust in her? The corner of Jingyi's lips curled up into an inexplicable smile as she watched Lin Yi talking to the sky-class spider. She raised her eyebrows as well. There was a strange feeling in her heart. Did he really think of her as one of his own? After knowing so many of his secrets, would she always stay by his side in the future? However, thinking of the fierce competition for the girlfriend position around Lin Yi, Sun Jingyi was a little conflicted. Be it Song Lingshan or Yushu, they were all waiting in line, right? However, take this treasure back and don't spread it around. Otherwise, it will cause a lot of trouble. The heaven-rank spider reminded. Of course. Even you and the Fire Lion clan couldn't fight against this force. I'd better be careful. Linny said in deep thought. After fighting with the Grand Guardian, Linny had this thought. Then I won't say more. The heaven-rank spider nodded. Aren't you anxious to know where the teleportation array is? What's the use of being anxious? I can't do anything if you don't bring me there. Linny shrugged. It's not a problem to bring you there, but with your current strength, it's best not to use the teleportation array. Let's not talk about the unknown dangers that might appear at the teleportation location. The energy produced by the teleportation array can't be endured by anyone below sky class. The heaven-rank spider explained. I understand. I'm just curious. I'm not that overconfident, Lenny smiled. With my strength, isn't going to Sky-class island the same as suicide? The teleportation array is at the other end of the mountain stream. It's not easy for us spiders to cross. We have to draw silk one by one. You won't be able to cross it with your current strength. The heaven rank spider said. If you want to take a look, I'll bring some people to draw a silk bridge. It'll take about one night. You can go and take a look tomorrow. Then I'll trouble you, Lenny said. It's nothing, it's within my ability, the heaven rank spider said. At this time, the spider subordinates had already prepared a sumptuous banquet. The wine was fruit wine that they brewed themselves. It was said that there were heavenly treasures added to it. It was very beneficial for cultivation. The food was also natural fruits. It was similar to what they ate at the Fire Lion's territory. Lenny wasn't polite. After eating a big meal with Sunjingi, the heaven rank spider gave the cave to Lenny, Sunjingi, and the skybolt pig to rest. It then led its spider subordinates, and even the small spiders, to build a silk bridge for Lenny. Chapter 2276. Benefactor. Our spider clan will need to weave the silk bridge through the night. It should be done in one night, the spider said. The heaven rank spider said, you can rest here tonight. No one or spirit beast will break through the ancient restriction and disturb you. All right, thanks for the trouble, Lenny said. It's not that troublesome, in order to repay a favor. The spider shook its head and smiled. Lenny nodded and didn't say anything else. After all, he was quite curious about the teleportation circle. And it would be troublesome for the spider clan to make the silk bridge in order to satisfy his curiosity. Right, although there are ancient restrictions in the cave, there aren't any outside. If you want to go out at night, you should be careful. The spider reminded. We're not here, so we're afraid that your enemies will take advantage of this. I have 1,000 silk mask here. After wearing it, you'll look completely different. If you want to go to the toilet or something, it's best to wear the mask. And if someone asks, just say that you're a guest of our spider clan. The spider clan and the fire lion clan have always had grudges. And if it's someone from the Tagan clan, they'll definitely know about this. Seeing that you're unfamiliar and our guests, they won't do anything to you. Thank you very much. Lenny couldn't help but feel grateful for the spider's thoughtfulness. If he and Sunjingi were the spider clan's guests, then it definitely wouldn't be the Zhang Naipeo, who had a relationship with the Fire Lion clan. Plus, their appearances were different, so they wouldn't look into it. It was just that Lenny was a bit curious as to what that 1,000 silk mask was. What's that mask you're talking about? This mask is a special treasure that our spider clan can make. It's just that it's very difficult to make, and it requires 2 spiders above the sky class to make it. It also requires a lot of external conditions and materials, so we only have one in stock. The spider said, only one of you can use it. With that, the spider took out 1,000 silk mask and gave it to Lenny. This is it. Lenny looked at the thin mask in the heaven rank spider's hand and was somewhat amazed. That thing looked like a transparent silicone mask, but after touching it, it felt smooth and silky, just like human skin. It felt very good. Yes, give it a try. The heaven rank spider nodded. Lenny didn't try it. Instead, he directly put the 1,000 silk mask on Sunjingi's face. Sure enough, Sunjingi suddenly turned into another person, completely different from her previous image. Even Lenny, who was extremely familiar with her, couldn't recognize who she was at this moment. This was really a good treasure, and it was perfect for disguising himself. So magical? Lenny said in surprise. Can this mask change its appearance? No, the appearance of this mask is fixed. You can't change it according to your own imagination. The heaven rank spider shook its head and said, I have heard of a mask that can change one's appearance according to one's imagination, but I don't know how to make it. So that's how it is, but this is already very good. Lenny said, your spider race only has one such precious item. I'm a bit embarrassed to ask for it. Hee, it's useless for our spider race to keep this mask. We don't need to change our appearance. The heaven rank spider said. My previous contracted master and the second person who passed through this teleportation array also don't need this thing. So I'm giving it to you, benefactor. Then I won't refuse. Lainey no longer declined and accepted the mask. This was indeed a good thing. Lainey really couldn't refuse. I'm done. I have to take my people to work. See you tomorrow morning, Mr. Lin. Mr. Lin, the heaven-rank spider said. See you tomorrow morning. Lainey nodded. After the heaven-rank spider left with its subordinates, Sun Jingyi and Lin Yi also went to sleep. The heaven-rank spider had prepared a bed in the cave, so they didn't have to worry about not having a place to sleep. Jingyi was tired as well, and soon fell asleep. Lin Yi, on the other hand, went into the jade space to continue his training. Ever since leaving the big flame lion's nest, Lin Yi had been worried, afraid that the Great Protectors group would come looking for trouble. And that night, Lin Yi's group slept very soundly. They didn't need to worry about enemies invading, nor did they need to worry about any accidents happening. Although Lin Yi was also inside the jade space, and was using his mind power to sense the surroundings, it was a lot more relaxed compared to the previous few nights. Sun Jingyi slept very well, and the Skybolt pig also slept very soundly. When the man and the beast woke up, the sky was already gray. It was dawn. Foot. Sun Jingyi stretched, but didn't get up. Instead, she laid on the mattress and looked at Lin Yi lazily. She had a natural charm. I slept very soundly. I haven't slept this soundly in a long time. Lin Yi looked at Sun Jingyi. Her current appearance was the most seductive. This woman had an indescribable charm. Her casual movements could tug at a man's heartstrings, and people couldn't help but want to push her down. There really wasn't a woman like this around Lin Yi. The mist was a bit cold, Shu and Xiaoxiao were a bit crazy, Wang Xingyan was a bit quiet, and Lingshan was a bit fiery. On the other hand, Sun Jingyi had an indescribable charm. No wonder Wu Qintian was so infatuated with her. If Lin Yi didn't have enough willpower, he would have fallen for her already. Lin Yi didn't mind having something happen with Sun Jingyi, but now wasn't a good time. Can you not tempt me like this? Lin Yi's eyes swept across Sun Jingyi's beautiful figure and said faintly, Tempt? Are you that easily tempted? Sun Jingyi smiled faintly. The first time I saw you, I asked you for help. You seemed to have a strong willpower, and you didn't get blinded by beauty at all. People change, Lin Yi said. Recently my willpower hasn't been good. Maybe it's because Xiaoxiao left. Let's not talk about this. Sun Jingyi didn't hate this ambiguous topic, but she was afraid that Lin Yi would bring up Xiaoxiao and Tang Yin. This was a taboo topic, so Sun Jingyi didn't say much. What time is it? Chapter 2277. Let's go out and take a look? I guess the spider race is almost done? Sun Jingyi said. It should be almost done. Lin Yi nodded and left the spider's cave with Sun Jingyi. However, what made Lin Yi feel strange was that there was no spider at the entrance of the spider's cave. It wasn't strange that there were no spiders guarding the entrance, because there were ancient restrictions in the cave, so there was no need to worry about external enemies invading. However, it was strange that there wasn't even a spider waiting to inform them. Although the heaven-rank spider said that it would help Lin Yi weave a silk bridge last night, the entire spider race had been dispatched. With so many spiders, how could it not be finished in one night? How big of a project was this? Besides, even if it wasn't finished, it was already dawn. The heaven-rank spider should have sent a spider back to inform Lin Yi, right? Now there was not a single spider. What was the situation? Thinking of this, Lin Yi frowned. He suddenly had a bad premonition. Could it be that something went wrong? After carefully looking around the surroundings, Lin Yi didn't find any abnormalities, and there were no traces of fighting. In fact, Lin Yi was just taking a look. If something really happened here last night, it was impossible for Lin Yi, who was cultivating in the space of the jade pendant, to not notice it at all. Why is there not a single spider? Sun Jingyi also noticed something was wrong and asked curiously. I'm afraid something went wrong. Lin Yi didn't know where the Sky Moat Mountain stream was. The heaven-rank spider didn't explain in detail last night, and Lin Yi didn't ask. After all, he knew that the heaven-rank spider would take him there, so he naturally wouldn't ask those meaningless questions. But now, there wasn't even a direction. It can't be right? Isn't this their territory? How could there be a mistake? Moreover, even if there was a mistake, it's impossible that there isn't a single spider, right? Sunjingi said curiously. I don't know yet. I have a bad feeling in my heart. I keep feeling that something is going to happen, Linny said. Is it because there isn't a single spider that you feel that something is wrong? That's true. Sunjingi nodded. Could it be because the silk bridge hasn't been built yet, so they are working overtime? We can't rule out that possibility. After all, Linny did not understand the habits of spirit beasts. Perhaps the spider spirit beast was the kind of spirit beast that was more rigorous and would not stop until it was done. Shall we wait then? Sunjingi asked. That's the only way, Linny said. Just like that, the two of them and Skybolt Pig waited at the entrance of the cave. In the blink of an eye, a few hours had passed. Lin Yi's heart grew heavier and heavier. He felt that things weren't as simple as they seemed. Although he didn't know what the problem was, it was definitely not normal. Seeing that Lin Yi's expression was getting heavier and heavier, Sunjingi couldn't help but ask, Is there a problem? Who knows? Lin Yi didn't expect that there would be a problem. Perhaps there really is an accident. The spider clan doesn't seem like spirit beasts that don't keep their promises. Moreover, if they didn't keep their promises, there was no need for them to tell us about these things. They could have just not said anything yesterday. We will leave today. There's no need for them to disappear. Then, what should we do now? Sunjingi nodded and asked in agreement. Skybolt Pig, can you find out where the spiders went? Lin Yi turned his head and looked at Skybolt Pig. He could only place his hopes on Skybolt Pig. Rawr! Skybolt Pig nodded to indicate that he could. He had already remembered the smell of the spider clan. As long as they didn't go beyond a certain range, he would be able to find them. Okay, bring us to them now. Lin Yi immediately made a decision. Rawr! Skybolt Pig ran in front while Lin Yi and Sunjingi followed behind. They headed in the opposite direction of the valley, where they picked the herbs yesterday. Skybolt Pig was heading towards the dark side of the Wulonghout mountain range. There were fewer types of plants, and the road was easy to walk on. However, Lin Yi's heart was filled with vigilance. He was always on guard against any accidents. However, it was very quiet along the way. There were no spirit beasts, no signs of human activity, and no unexpected accidents. Soon, a magnificent silk bridge made of spider silk appeared in front of Lin Yi and Sunjingi from afar. The silk bridge went through the two sides of a mountain stream. It was obvious that the spider clan had finished weaving the silk bridge. However, this situation made Lin Yi feel even more strange. Where did all the spiders go? The silk bridge was here, but not a single spider could be seen. This strange situation made one's hair stand on end. It was too strange and too scary. Lin Yi didn't rush forward recklessly. Instead, he stopped in his tracks and carefully sensed the reaction of the jade pendant. If he continued forward, and the jade pendant gave him a warning, it would be too late, like when he was caught by the huge net. After all, the situation in the Wulonghout mountain range was special. Knowing the danger didn't mean that one could avoid it. Just like the spider's inescapable net. Even if Lin Yi received a warning from the jade pendant, he would have enough time to react. However, the huge net was different from normal dangers. Not only could it expand, it could also shrink, making it impossible for people to defend against it. Therefore, this time, Lin Yi learned to be smart. He decided to wait and see. It seems like there isn't any danger? Lin Yi touched his chin. His expression was a little strange. In fact, he didn't quite believe it himself. There was no danger here at all. After all, the situation at this time had exceeded Lin Yi's imagination. Sunjingi was silent. She didn't have the right to speak, because she had zero experience in this situation. It wasn't good for her to casually answer and affect Lin Yi's judgment. Let's take a look first. Lin Yi could only walk in the direction of the silk bridge. To be honest, Lin Yi could totally turn around and leave now. But he couldn't resist the curiosity in his heart. Let's not talk about where the spiders went. The mysterious teleportation array that led to the Heaven Stage Island also made Lin Yi very curious. And Sun Jingyi was also a little curious. Although her cultivation path was different from others, the legendary threshold that could break through the Heaven Stage and step into the Heaven Path was enough to arouse her strong curiosity and desire. Lin Yi and Sun Jingyi reached an agreement. They moved forward again and came to the edge of the silk bridge. There was no accident. The jade pendant on Lin Yi's chest was also calm. However, the more it was so, the more uneasy Lin Yi's heart was. Chapter 2278. But the silk bridge had been built, and the spider race had disappeared. I'll go take a look first, you wait for me here. If the situation is not good, take the skybolt pig and run back to the cave. I'll also give you these 3 inescapable nets. Lin Yi said as he gave the inescapable nets that the heaven rank spider had given him to Sun Jingyi. Sun Jingyi didn't want Lin Yi to take the risk. But after coming here, Lin Yi wouldn't be willing to leave without taking a look. Therefore, Sun Jingyi hesitated for a moment before agreeing. Okay, you go, but be careful. Lin Yi nodded with a smile and jumped onto the silk bridge. Although the silk bridge looked a bit like walking on a tightrope, it wasn't difficult for a cultivator like Lin Yi. Moreover, the silk bridge wasn't long and the mountain stream could be seen at a glance. On the bridge, Lin Yi walked forward slowly, as if he was walking on thin ice, paying attention to the jade's reaction as well. What made Lin Yi pleasantly surprised and regretful was that when he reached the other side of the mountain stream, the jade pendant didn't have any reaction. In other words, Lin Yi didn't encounter any danger. However, the more it was like this, the more Lin Yi felt that something was wrong. There was no danger, so where did the spider race go? Wasn't this a bit unreasonable? No problem. Lin Yi waved his hand at Sun Jingyi, and then quickly walked back along the silk bridge. Lin Yi could smoothly cross, but it didn't mean that Sun Jingyi could. Although Sun Jingyi was also a cultivator, she was a very different kind of cultivator. In fact, she didn't have any strength. This silk bridge was a bit difficult for her, so Lin Yi had to support her. After returning to the silk bridge, Lin Yi had a better understanding of its sturdiness. Although it looked very thin, it was very sturdy. Therefore, he, Sun Jingyi, and the skybolt pig had no problem getting on the silk bridge. This bridge looks a bit scary. You have to support me. I'll definitely die if I fall. Sun Jingyi looked at the bottomless mountain stream and said with a guilty conscience, even if you can heal, I won't be able to survive if I fall and turn into a meat patty. Then you can hold me. I won't die if I fall, but it will be hard to get up. Lin Yi looked at the bottom of the mountain stream. He didn't lie to Sun Jingyi. This mountain stream was very steep. Even if Lin Yi fell, it wouldn't be easy for him to get back up. Lin Yi couldn't jump so high. Even if it was divided into multiple jumps, it still wouldn't work. This cliff was very steep, and it wouldn't be easy to find a foothold. It wouldn't be a problem if it wasn't too high, but it was too deep. Unless Lin Yi could fly, he wouldn't be able to get up. Then it's better not to fall. Sun Jingyi said. If we fall, we'll be savages for the rest of our lives. However, as she said this, Sun Jingyi suddenly had a very strange feeling in her heart. If she and Lin Yi fell together, would they be considered a husband and wife? And then stay together for the rest of their lives? Lin Yi, on the other hand, didn't say anything. He carried Jingyi in his arms while she was thinking about the problem, taking big steps towards the bridge. Lin Yi didn't have any problems with his balance. Not to mention carrying Sun Jingyi. Even if he was carrying a heavier object, as long as the silk bridge could withstand it, Lin Yi would have no problem crossing it. The skybolt pig was small and very agile, so crossing the silk bridge wasn't a problem. Soon, 2 people and 1 beast arrived at the opposite side of the silk bridge. Lin Yi also put Sun Jingyi down, but Sun Jingyi was a little embarrassed to be carried by Lin Yi. She glanced at Lin Yi, but didn't say anything. Because Sun Jingyi saw that Lin Yi's face had become serious, so she didn't joke anymore. What's wrong? There are traces of battle here. Lin Yi pointed at some marks on the ground and said to Sun Jingyi, could it be that the spider clan met their enemies here, and something happened? Here. Sun Jingyi lowered her head and carefully looked at the direction that Lin Yi pointed. Sure enough, she saw some messy footprints on the ground, as well as some withered grass that had been burned by fire. So she said, "The Fire Lion clan? They came here?" "It's hard to say." Lenny stood up and said, "Let's go forward and see. I don't know what the situation is here, but if there was a battle, we didn't find any corpses of spirit beasts. Yes, this platform doesn't look big. Besides the cave not far away, there is no other way to go. It's clear at a glance. If a battle happened here, then where did the Spider Clan go after the battle?" Sunjingi said strangely, "Let's go inside the cave." Lenny raised his head and looked at the cave, then said, "If my guess is correct, that cave should be the location of the teleportation formation. Let's go and take a look first." Sunjingi and Lin Yi walked towards the cave together. They could see the situation inside clearly by standing at the entrance of the cave. The cave wasn't big, so they could see the whole inside at a glance. There were no spirit beasts in the cave, and it was quiet. In other words, there were no spirit beasts on this platform, including the cave. It seems that things are really strange. Lenny pondered for a moment, then said, "There are so many spiders. Even if there was a conflict with the Fire Lion clan, it's impossible for all of them to disappear. Could they have been captured by the Fire Lion clan?" Sunjingi guessed. "That's not possible, right? Even if the Fire Lion clan has the advantage of offensive attributes, it would be difficult to capture so many spiders." Lenny shook his head and denied this idea. 3 fire lions, and the number of spiders simply weren't equal. Lenny believed that they could kill all of these spiders, but capturing all of them wouldn't be that easy. It was almost impossible. In any case, let's take a look inside the cave first. Lenny said. Lin Yi and Sunjingi entered the cave. There was actually nothing special inside the cave. What made Lenny curious was the teleportation formation. Lenny wasn't too sure, because he only saw a few stones on the ground forming a strange symbol. He didn't know if it was the teleportation formation that the heaven rank spider mentioned. As for how to activate it, Lenny didn't know, and he didn't dare to casually try. Lenny could only take out his phone and take a picture of the situation inside the cave. He was going to take it back and study it carefully when he had the chance. Chapter 2279. It should be. Lenny shrugged. Other than that, I really don't know what else is special about this cave. Sunjingi carefully looked around the cave, but she really didn't see anything special. Other than the pile of strange stones on the ground, there was nothing else that could be called a teleportation array. Is it really here? Sunjingi looked at the stones on the ground suspiciously. Why does it feel like it's broken? That I don't know. Lenny was just guessing. It's really strange. Sunjingi frowned. Let's leave this place first. Lenny looked around, and his curiosity was satisfied. He found that this place was just SOSO, so he wasn't interested in staying any longer. Sunjingi naturally didn't have any objections. On the way back, Lenny still hugged her, which made Sunjingi's heart ripple again. Skybolt Pig. Do you know where the spiders went? This was almost the end of the mountain range. Lenny couldn't see the spiders, so he could only pin his hope on Skybolt Pig. GG. Skybolt Pig shook his head. He used his front paw to point here, and then waved his hand. Lenny understood what he meant. It meant that the clues stopped here. He could only find this place based on the smell of the spiders, but there was no way to continue searching. Okay. Lenny smiled bitterly. Even Skybolt Pig couldn't find the spiders, so Lenny didn't have to continue searching nearby. However, before leaving, Lenny still didn't give up. He returned to the spider's nest with Sunjingi and Skybolt Pig, but to their disappointment, the spiders still didn't appear. The cave where the nest was located was still quiet, and there was no sign of any spiders. Let's go. Lenny sighed, thinking that this matter was strange. In just one night, it had become like this. Things were very strange. Although nothing had happened for the time being, there was no guarantee that something would happen after a long time. In short, Lenny did not want to stay in this strange place any longer. Where are we going now? Sunjingi asked. Let's go look for the Fire Lion clan. The heaven-rank spider said that apart from the main path leading up the mountain, there is only one path leading down the mountain. Moreover, it is extremely dangerous. If we go there, we might not be able to survive. Lenny dispelled the idea of taking a risk. The spider race had disappeared, and the map was also gone. Lenny planned to go to the Great Fire Lion to take a look. If it also had the map, that would be the best. He could also take the Flaming God bombs and inquire about the spider race. All right. Sunjingi nodded. Lenny left a message on the ground of the cave, explaining that he and Sunjingi had left first. Although the spiders had disappeared for no reason, Lenny wasn't sure if they would come back. It wasn't very polite to leave without saying goodbye, so Lenny decided to leave his whereabouts behind. It could be considered an explanation to the spiders. Walking out of the spider race's territory, Lin-Yi and Sunjingi's complexion was not very good. Things were really too strange, beyond their imagination. From here, although Lenny was not very familiar with the road to the Fire Lion clan's cave, with the Thunder Pig as a guide, there would not be any problem. Although they were in the middle range of the Wulong Haut, Lin-Yi and Sunjingi did not relax. They were afraid that the people of the Tagan family would come looking for trouble. However, what Lin-Yi did not know was that Old Six had been squatting near the top of the mountain and had no intention of going to the middle range. Old Six also knew that there were two spiritual beasts in the middle range. Unless he had nothing better to do, he would not go and fight with those two spiritual beasts. These days, Old Six had been walking back and forth around the upper range of the Wulong Haut mountain range. He also found the cave that Lenny had lived in. However, he did not find anything valuable in the cave. Instead, he found a small iron box. From its appearance, it should be a box that stored something valuable. If Old Six's guess was correct, this box should contain the treasure that Master wanted. However, this treasure had already been taken away. This box obviously had no value. Other than that, there were also some fast food packaging in the cave. From this, it seemed that the people in the cave had not left for long, because there was not much dust on the packaging and the iron box. With 12th guarding the lower part of the mountain range, 6th brother was not afraid of anything. He only needed to guard the upper part of the mountain range. If they really encountered a master who could split the mountains and split the seas, even if he and 12th went together, it would be useless. Now, Old Six was hoping that the one who killed Old 13 was not Zhang Naipeo and his wife, but someone else. It would be best if they could split up. If they did, then he would be able to find trouble with Zhang Naipeo. Old 12 had been blocking the path down the mountain with House Tagan's guards. Every day, they would interrogate the adventurers going up and down the mountain. However, these people were all very weak. Most of them hadn't even stepped into Golden Class, and the strongest was only Golden Class. Plus, the number of adventurers in each team was the same as when they went up the mountain, so there wasn't much to investigate. House Tagan may be the strongest, but that was a hidden strength. On the surface, they were just a little stronger than the others. They couldn't interfere with the adventurers going up the mountain through other families and forces. After all, they couldn't just seal the mountain just because of House Tagan. Old 12 didn't have that intention, and House Tagan naturally wouldn't do anything unnecessary. But today, the situation was a little different. Suddenly, a strange cry came from not far from the exit of the mountain range. Following that, a crazy old man with disheveled hair and tattered clothes ran down the mountain. He didn't hide his peak heaven-rank strength, and revealed it to the world, causing everyone's expressions to tighten. And Old 12's expression changed. A Sky-class late-phase peak, the same level as Old 6. Although he was also Sky-class, he was only Sky-class early-phase peak. There was a huge gap between him and the person in front of him. Could it be that this was the master that Old 6 had mentioned? With that thought, Old 12's heart skipped a beat. Although he came from that place and had a pure practitioner's arts and techniques, making him stronger than normal people of the same level, he didn't have much confidence against a Sky-class late-phase peak that was a few levels higher than him. Chapter 2280. In his opinion, Even the 13th brother was able to injure him, so the 12th brother felt that he wasn't his opponent at all. Especially after receiving the 6th brother's warning, he wouldn't rashly make a move against this peak heaven rank late-stage freak. So he just frowned and waved his hand at the people behind him, indicating that they shouldn't act rashly. Even if this person was the murderer who killed the 13th brother, then the 12th brother was definitely not his opponent. The 13th brother was only a little weaker than him, but this crazy old man with the strength of the peak heaven rank late stage was obviously domineering and full of true chi, as if he wasn't injured at all. In other words, this person killed the 13th brother without any injuries. What kind of concept was that? The 12th brother was very clear in his heart. No wonder the 6th brother said that the enemy was very strong. Since that was the case, he naturally didn't need to stop him. So he let the heaven rank freak run down the mountain and run away in front of everyone's eyes. Although the other families and gangs in the town were also very puzzled by such an obvious powerhouse. Where did he come from? But no one was stupid enough to stop him and question him. The strength of the heaven rank freak was completely exposed. As long as it was a practitioner, they would be able to see that he was an expert with the strength of the peak heaven rank late stage, who would dare to act rashly. Phew! The 12th brother watched the heaven rank freak go far away before letting out a sigh of relief. He had been under a lot of psychological pressure just now. After all, the 13th brother might have died in that person's hands. And this kind of pressure of seeing an enemy, but not being able to make a move made the 12th brother feel very uncomfortable. A little impatience spoils great plans. The 12th brother reminded himself, then quickly calmed his emotions, took a pen and paper, and wrote down what he saw, then tied it to the feet of the flying spirit beast, and let it fly out. He had to inform the 6th brother of this news as soon as possible. At the top of the Wulonghout mountain range, the 6th brother looked at the 12th brother's letter, and sighed in his heart. Sure enough, his guess was right. It was an expert with the strength of the peak heaven rank late stage. It was right that the 12th brother didn't stop him. Otherwise he wouldn't have been his opponent. Thinking of the huge pit at the top of the mountain range, the 6th brother felt shocked. This level of expert was probably similar to his master, infinitely close to the peak heaven rank late stage, only lacking an opportunity to step into the heavenly law. Just a peak late stage heaven rank left? That means that Zhang Naipeo and his wife are still in the Yulong Mountains? A cold smile appeared on Old Six's face as he thought of this possibility. That's good news. Originally, Old Six was thinking that if someone were to kill 13th, it would be that person who was supporting Zhang Naipeo and his wife. If this person were to stay by their side, then he and Old 12 wouldn't be able to take the food from the tiger's mouth even if they teamed up. They'd be in a very passive position. Old Six, on the other hand, had been hiding, not daring to show his face in public. He was also afraid of being attacked by a peak late-stage heaven-class master. He wanted to wait for the three to separate, but that didn't seem to be necessary now. Zhang Naipeo and his wife didn't go down the mountain, but the heaven-class monster did. As long as he and Old 12 stayed at the foot of the mountain, these two wouldn't be able to escape. What Old 6 and Old 12 thought of, naturally, was what Linny thought as well. The heaven-class monster had run away for no reason, and Linny had lost this powerful bodyguard. Naturally, he became more careful, especially with the disappearance of the Spider Clan. This made him feel that this Oolong Mountains was full of mysteriousness. He carefully followed Skybolt Pig and Sun Jingyi to the Fire Lion clan's turf. But what surprised Lin Yi was that the Fire Lions weren't in their nest. There were only 3 lions in the Fire Lion clan, and it was possible for them to go out together. Although Lin Yi's heart sank when he saw the empty nest, he still waited here with Sun Jingyi. There was an ancient seal on the outside, but it wasn't set up for Lin Yi, Sun Jingyi, and Skybolt Pig. They could enter without a hitch, and they wouldn't have to worry about any intruders. Why is the Fire Lion clan not here? Jingyi, too, felt that something wasn't right. Lin Yi might be able to keep his composure, but she wasn't. I don't know, but this is strange, Lin Yi said. We can't rule out the possibility that they went out to look for food or treasures. Let's wait and see. Sun Jingyi nodded, feeling very depressed. If she knew that this trip to the Wulong Hout mountain range would cause so much trouble and encounter so many strange things, she wouldn't have suggested Lin Yi to accompany her here. This place was too dangerous, and it was full of suspense. They waited for a day and a night, but the Fire Lion clan still didn't return. This situation made Lin Yi feel more and more uneasy. The Spider clan disappeared, and the Fire Lion clan also disappeared. Moreover, it seemed like it happened at the same time. Previously, Lin Yi and the Fire Lion clan agreed that when they went down the mountain, they would come here to pick up a Fire Stream God bomb. In theory, even if the Fire Lion clan went out to look for treasures, it was impossible for the whole clan to go out. There had to be one person left here to wait for Lin Yi. Even if they all went out, they would rush back as soon as possible. It was impossible for them to leave for so long without any movement. This didn't match the Fire Lion clan's character. They wouldn't neglect a benefactor like Lin Yi. Skybolt Pig, can you sense where the Fire Lion clan is? Lin Yi turned to look at Skybolt Pig and asked. However, Skybolt Pig shook his head and squeaked twice. Then he used his claws to write on the soft ground. It's been too long. The smell has disappeared, can't be traced. Moreover, they don't seem to be in the range of my senses. Not in the range of my senses? Lin Yi frowned. Although the smell of the Fire Lion's route might have disappeared, under normal circumstances, Skybolt Pig could also find the spiritual beasts and treasures he was looking for without relying on this route. Since Skybolt Pig said so, did it mean that the Fire Lion clan had really gone far? They shouldn't be in the Wulong Hout mountain range anymore. Skybolt Pig wrote on the ground again. Huh? Lin Yi looked at the words written by Skybolt Pig and couldn't help but get a shock. Not in the Wulong Hout mountain range? Then where did the Fire Lion clan go? The Fire Lion clan usually didn't even go to the upper and lower ranges. Now that they were not in the mountain range, where did they go? You're tuning in to the Dreamy Chapters YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support. And don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.